a.m. on September 25th. Call this board, the meeting of the Sunset Empire Transportation District Board of Directors to order. And we'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Who's taking roll today? Jason, could you do that for us?
I can do that for you. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see here. Okay, in the room, Pamela from Littering or Reader?
Yes, I am.
All right, here is Tina Montero.
Present.
Good. Kathy Klesick.
Here.
Okay, and Guillermo. Good, thank you very much. Online, who do we have online for board members, commissioners? Do we have Tracy McDonald online? Okay, wait 1 second here. Do not see Tracy, although I thought I had heard him a little while ago.
I didn't.
Tracy said he would be attending online, so I expect him to jump in, and Commissioner Booth Schmidt is excused.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we're good.
Any changes to the agenda? Anybody have any changes, additions, subtractions to the agenda? Commissioner Alegria.
I'd like to add the suggestion of a letter by the chair concerning transportation bill.
Okay. Consideration of a letter being sent to the transportation regarding the transportation bill to who? Under new business, that would be item D. Any other changes? Commissioner Montero?
Yes. I would like to add to new business the formation of a board policy committee.
New business item E, the policy committee assignments.
And also, I don't know where to put it, but a discussion of what the board should be receiving as far as the training list, the trainings that we're supposed to have.
Okay.
Is it
Training
the
assignment?
vector training assignments?
What does that mean?
Well, we'll put it on the agenda. I don't know.
Okay.
Training assignments. Anyone else? Then I have a couple items. We need to add the November, December meeting. And there is a conference coming up in November. The Oregon Public Transportation Conference is coming up in Bend. So we need to discuss that. So that would be H. And there was a request for a discussion regarding the meeting change. So that'll be I. So, and already you will see that we are going to be really tight on time based on our schedule. So any other changes to the agenda? Okay, all those in favor of approving the agenda as amended signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? You have a new agenda. Public comment. Do we have anybody from the public that would like to make public comment? Jason, anybody online? We don't have anybody in the room.
Do not show anybody online.
Okay. Approval of board minutes for August 29th. Commissioner Montero.
We need a motion first before we can discuss something. Okay. I guess I would move that we table approval of the board minutes.
And a motion to move to table the board minutes. Is there a second? Motion to table was made by Commissioner Montero and seconded by Chair Klezak. Discussion.
Probably want to
Commissioner
know the
Montero.
reason
Yes.
why I think we should table it. And the reason is that in the absence of Mary doing the minutes, I know that there's been some scrambling and I really applaud the effort. However, the minutes as they stand would need so many corrections and additions that I think it would be better to get that all done and have us consider the minutes at our next meeting rather than going over and saying, well, this wasn't here and this isn't here and etc. And I'm not saying that as criticism, I'm saying that as construction, because I know that a lot of work did go into it. It's just not totally accurate.
Any further discussion? Okay, then I will just add that I echo that. I think that a lot of work went into these minutes. However, they are missing some key things such as motions, who made them, who seconded them, what the vote tallies were. Those are key things that have to be included in the minutes. They also don't follow the format of the meeting and the agenda items from the last meeting, so that will need to be added. There's just some things that, in the interest of trying to get the minutes out there and get something out there, these things just weren't able to happen in the time frame that was available. I don't know if everybody's aware, but our administrative assistant is out right now. And so our executive director is wearing many hats and trying to do many of these things. And so some things are just going to take a little bit longer than what they would have normally. So we're going to give that time so that these things can be done correctly. So any further discussion about the minutes? Commissioner Romero? Oh, okay. Has Tracy joined us yet?
I don't know, but this individual here. I know.
No, that's
No, okay. Not see Tracy.
Okay. Since there's no further discussion, all those in favor of tabling the meeting minutes till the next meeting signify by saying aye. Aye. Chair votes aye. All those opposed? Motion passes unanimously. I will note that we do have a quorum, and to pass anything right now with only a quorum, the vote needs to be unanimous. Okay. Reports from Chair and Commissioners. Commissioner Romero.
It's a pleasure being here today, and I have nothing to report. And I just want to applaud our board and the progress we've been making, especially with the funding, i.e. ODOT. And thank you.
Thanks. No Commissioner McDonald still?
No, ma'am.
Okay, Commissioner Allegria?
I attended the conference session on board responsibilities and duties, which was very good, well presented, well done.
Commissioner Montero?
Yes. I want to direct your attention to the picture that Jason has put up. This is Margie and Edwin Schenk. Margie is 87 years old. Edwin is 91. On September 17th,
Jason, are you sharing that as well online? Are you sharing that online as well? Thank you.
On September 17th, I go to the senior lunches at the Chisholm Center in Seaside, and I see them there very often. So I stopped to talk with them. They were sitting in the lobby waiting for the bus. They live in Warrenton, and they I'd say several times a week they travel from Warrenton to Seaside for lunch. And so I thought, okay, well, I'm going to talk to them. And I have to tell you, they could not express enough appreciation for Sunset Empire Transportation District, for their bus driver. And in particular, they raved about Nicole. They went on and on. They feel so fortunate that they are able to get transportation to go where they want, when they want. And I think this is a wonderful story. You can see they both have mobility challenges, and they would love to come see us in person at one of our meetings. So this is Margie and Edwin Shin. So I felt that that was really important to share with you. At one of my other meetings, my boards, we have what reports by the directors called community engagement. And I think that it's really important for us to be able to be out in the community and engage. Further on my report, on the 11th of September, I had a day long with orientation with Executive Director Carr. Took a tour of everything. I was very impressed with everything that I saw. And every 2 weeks now, I'm signing the checks. I have to say I was very impressed with the presentation that Victoria gave me on how she prepares things, the record keeping she does, and her attention to detail. So in particular, that really impressed me that day. On the 18th of September, I participated in a Oregon State webinar regarding records retention, and which was very informative. The records retention work group has been working on this since 2002. Record retention rules and regulations and processes in the state of Oregon have not been touched since 2013. The intent is that the record retention rules for municipalities, counties, and special districts will be very, very similar. So it's much easier for everybody to assimilate and to get guidance. They are out for public comment. They've been out for public comment the month of August and for September. The public comment will end on September 30th. So if you're interested, go and go look at the proposed rules. They expect to have the final rules out in November, at which time I think that will be very helpful for us as we look at our policies for record retention. I also attended the SDAO training that Pamela referenced, and I did bring packets. I brought a packet for you, Guillermo, and a packet for Tracy. Yesterday at the Seaside Chamber meeting, I met somebody from the Thousand Trails campground who said that the people who come to Thousand Trails always ask about using the bus. And so they want bus schedules. And I have rated the bus schedule box, and I will be taking them bus schedules. That's it.
Thank you. That's a great report. Thanks for being out there representing the district. Tracy, still no Commissioner McDonald?
Double check. I not see him. Not in our active 10 members we have online.
Okay, thank you. So just really briefly, it's been a busy month tracking the transportation package. It's on again, off again. And so we're still watching to see what will happen. Stay tuned for Monday. And I also attended the public meetings training by SDAO on, what day was that? Tuesday. I was in the same room 2 days in a row for different trainings, so or for different events. So SDAO did an excellent job presenting the outlines and and a lot of guidance on public meetings and ethics and what to do and not to do as a board member and as a board. And we collectively have the opportunity to also get specific public meetings requirements training from SDAO, because that is now under the charge of the Oregon Ethics Commission. And so they're offering SDAO's training has been approved by them. And so as an agency, that has expenditures over $1 million, we're required as board members to take this training at least once per term, elected term. So I'm going to try and get us coordinated a training together with some other districts around here to be able to request that together so that potentially we can get more people to join us in one training versus another. And I'm doing that with my SDAO board member hat, not my SETD hat, trying to save some trips and get good training for us out here rather than having us potentially needing to drive to some other more central location. So working on that. That's what I have to report as far as that's concerned. Stay tuned. The auditor's report.
Can you call up that PowerPoint? Is there a specific place I should stand for this microphone?
If you would like to probably stand closer to executive director, that'd be in frame.
I don't know. I'm an auditor. He may or may not want me to be here.
Come on over.
Okay.
I love water.
Ask my team, ask my young staff about me and IT though. Because I've been.
Break.
What's that?
Break.
I'm gonna break it. So I was talking to Pam earlier and I mentioned I would be back here to do field work in a couple of weeks. And he goes, what does a field got to do with it? And I use the term we like to use as accountants, so I have to tell you this. You know what the definition of an accountant is? Somebody who finds a problem you didn't know you had and explains it in a manner you can't understand. So maybe I'm doing this wrong. I've told you my staff tell me I shouldn't be doing. I'm pushing a button, but
No, it's okay. Let's see here.
I joked with my staff because when I started as an auditor back in 1983, everything was still hand-kept ledgers and we did everything by hand. So if you just hit it until the last, is that me doing it?
I think you're doing it. Yeah.
Wow.
You're holding it down.
There you
so
go.
That's why it's.
There we go.
All right. Communications to the board. We draft the audit report for you. In my world, that's a non-audit function. And I've told you how many years I've been doing this. We have these independence rules. And as the years have gone by, they've tightened them up quite a bit. Drafting a report is not an auditor's thing. If we felt like you didn't have anybody who had enough understanding to understand the report, that would impair our independence and we'd have to quit being your auditor. So our responsibility, if you read the report, every place you see my letterhead, that's what I'm responsible for. Everything else in the report is technically management's responsibility. We have no significant findings, no significant estimates. You're part of PERS. All that information comes from the state, so you guys really don't have anything to do. You're not part of PERS? Oh, I thought you were. I'm sorry about that, mixing you with somebody else. Sorry. You're not part of PERS, so that no difficulties encountered during the audit. We had a few entries we gave with Kelly, but no significant. As far as I know, we had no disagreements with staff about accounting issues. And management signs about 7-page rep letter now, representation letter, saying we've done all these things. And one of them is we are responsible for the financial statement. Oregon minimum standards. I have audited in California, Idaho, Oregon, and Nevada. There's only 2 states in the union that require you get a special license to audit governments. It's New Jersey and Oregon. And coincidentally, those are the only 2 states in the union we used to be able to not be able to pump gas, but now that changed in Oregon. So as part of the Oregon minimum audit standards, we have to make sure you put your money in financial institutions, and you can put your money in any bank or credit union you want to, up to $250,000. After that, they have to be on the list that the state treasurer's office puts up, and we test that. We look at that. That's one of the requirements. There's a debt limitation you're subject to. It varies by city, county, special districts. So it's in the state statute. And it's a percentage of real market value of property in your district. So we test that. We're required to test the budget. Did you publish it properly? Does it add up? And there's several other steps. The Oregon minimum audit standards require us to look at your insurance certificate. That's basically what it requires. Because they keep on telling us, we know you're not insurance experts, but we got to make sure you have insurance, basically. We're supposed to test programs funded from outside sources. For you, that's mainly your federal grants you receive. And as a side note here, the year we're looking at, you were below the $750,000 expenditure limit for a single audit act. We did not perform a single audit act on your audit for the 24 year because you spent $660,000 roughly.
Yeah.
And that threshold will be going up to $1 million here shortly. So that's the federal law about.
Does that meet our ODOT requirements?
I know they sent you an email, but no, that.
We send them our regular audit, and we sent them an AUP, that part of our audit that has to do with STIP.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Yeah.
What is
you
an
the STIP.
AUP?
In my world, it's agreed upon procedures.
Thank you.
You might call on an audit. And most auditors get excited about that. I don't care. I mean, everything I do, people call an audit. But in my world, unless I'm issuing an opinion on a financial statement, that's not an audit. So we call on agreed upon procedures, which is investment of public funds or state law about what you can and can't invest in, and public contracting. And I don't think you have many bids during the year, but we have to test bids that you put out, make sure you follow the public bidding procedure. This is a new one for you this year, days and fund balance. This shows over the last several years how many days, if at the end of the year, you had to operate off of basically cash or some receivables and payables in there. But if you had to operate off that, how many days could the district operate? And you can see that 24 turned out to be a very good year for you. You had a lot of cash on hand at the end of 24. And with your debt, this is a slide showing there wasn't really any debt until 22. There was some. But again, at the end of 24, your cash well exceeded the debt you had to the state. That shows that you've had some good improvement for your financial position. No major concerns. Any questions for me? I will be back up here October 12th. Is that right? Is that the Monday? Doing what I call field work. So I'll be sitting out there looking at transactions.
You said that anything that has your,
My letterhead on it is technically my responsibility.
so anything else?
Management and the management representation letter take
So,
responsibility for that.
so we don't ask questions about that?
You can ask if you want to. Ask me.
Oh, just for your information, it's a 7-member board, not 5-member.
Okay.
That's not key here. Well, I don't know if
I don't know how long that's been in the statement. It's probably for a long time.
Okay, well, if this is management, maybe,
Well, ask me. We put it together, so ask me. But technically, it's management's responsibility.
okay, and so is unassigned, this is on page 7.
Unassigned,
Is that what is the difference between unassigned and restricted or general?
unassigned is basically general. Why
So why
the difference? Because restricted.
I know what restricted
Okay,
is.
restricted is somebody's outside
Right.
or the board. It's I'll use a city, for example. It's a little more awkward with your board. If a city passes an ordinance, says we're going to use this money for this, that's also restricted.
But now I understand restricted.
Okay.
So what the difference is would be between unassigned and general pot of money.
The GASB, Government Accounting Standards Board, back 1999, said if it's not restricted, committed, assigned, it's unassigned. So that's basically general in your.
Okay,
But that's the terminology GASB tells us we have to use is unassigned. You can think of it as general, but that's the term we have to use.
okay. I thought that, on page 8, I thought you couldn't have a description of other revenue. I thought it had to be delineated what the revenue is.
We have a line that says just other revenue. It's up to you as a board and the staff. At some level, I have what's called materiality, and below that level, me as an auditor, I'm gonna say it's not material.
Mhm.
I'm gonna load it all together. We can list every revenue on the front of the statements if you want to. But 14,000 some odd dollars. What's that?
54,000.
54,000.
Oh, it's still immaterial for your audit. Let me tell you what immaterial is then, because people are going, wait a minute. It's a calculation we do that we say if somebody were to read these statements and there was an error in these statements, the error is not big enough to change their decision based on these statements. And to us, in the standards of the audit world, 54,000 is not a material number. I know that excites boards like crazy, but I also tell people you can't afford to pay an auditor to start looking at stuff that falls below that threshold. You think audits are expensive now? Start asking us to look at everything. It gets really expensive.
Any other questions, Commissioner LeGrand?
But they are your statements. You can tell us whatever you want us to put on there, and if it's not violating accounting standard, I can put it on there.
I think I'll just leave it.
Okay.
Any other questions? Commissioner Romero? Commissioner Montero?
No, we don't have any.
Can you then I just have one question. Why do we have capital assets that are not being depreciated, and what's the difference between the ones that are being depreciated and the ones that are not being depreciated?
I can't remember what you have in depreciation against capital assets.
What page did you see that?
I'll have to look at that. I might have to look at my work papers. I don't remember what's in non-depreciable capital assets.
Is that page?
Land is not being depreciated. That should be the only one that's not being depreciated. Looks like it is.
At 586?
Yeah.
Okay.
Land never gets depreciated by accountants.
Okay.
Any additions to land that has a limited life, anything with a limited life gets depreciated.
Okay.
Land exists forever.
Thank you. I was like, what
Yeah.
asset do we have that's worth that much that's not being depreciated? Okay, thank you.
I just have one question. On page 10, I've never seen demand deposits. What does that mean?
That is mostly a banking term for cash you have in the bank.
Meaning it's liquid?
Yes, meaning it's like,
Cash is liquid.
yeah. My demand deposits, and banking term, we used to be a bank auditor. I haven't done one for years because all my small banks got bought up. Is basically liquid cash you can draw out of the bank at any time.
So you have cash on hand and then
Demand deposit. Cash on hand is actually petty cash. You have a drawer here someplace with actual cash in it.
okay.
Any other questions for our auditor? In that case, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here to present and offer to answer questions, and thank you for your next audit.
Yes.
Thank you, Paul. Next item is the financial reports. Kelly?
Throwing me around with
Awesome.
I'm sorry. Good morning. We received our 5311 reimbursement, so that came in very quickly, which was great. That is on your dashboard. We haven't received our 5310 yet, unless it landed in there this morning. No, okay, I didn't check this morning, and I don't have a date on that yet. We have started our 5339 for our buses, getting all of that paperwork in and processed. So we're hopeful that that will move quickly as quickly can be at this point with that. Other than that, you'll notice on wages and such, we look like we're over budget. That is my error. I didn't take into account the payroll cutoff date. I was taking into account the payroll date. So when it hits our system is the date that the payroll cuts off, not the date that we get paid. So my error on that one for making that look like we were over budget, it will correct itself as the months go on. So, any questions for me?
Commissioner Alegria?
So, right.
Commissioner Montero?
I'm not sure this is a question specifically for Kelly, but we will be going over this in more detail and its arrangement and when we do a workshop, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
which is why I didn't make any of the changes that we had
No, that's
about
fine.
in the last meeting.
Yeah. It's a problem with my understanding. It's not about you at all.
Yeah, I had thought about that as the titles on the top.
No, they're
pages
fine.
and
They're
such.
fine.
So I
Right.
was like, oh, wait, until we come together and decide going forward.
Commissioner Romero? Any questions?
No, I have no questions. I just want to make a comment. I want to thank you for all your hard work. I read the report. I couldn't do that. Even though I took accounting in college.
Lots of moving parts for sure.
What's that?
Lots of moving parts.
Yes.
I just have a couple questions, and it's mostly just for clarity.
Sure.
The property taxes, the budget were way off. Is that going to throw us off
What page
for the
is it?
year, or is that going to
I
correct
expect
itself?
that to correct itself. It's just a balancing act of when we actually receive those funds. And sometimes we start to receive them early, sometimes we don't. So I think that will correct itself as the year goes on.
Pamela, I'd love to give you a page number, but I don't have a page number on my electronic thing. We're gonna, it's a matter of
I don't
Okay.
either.
our situation that we're in, so we're rolling with it and we'll do the best we can. The interest earned is also way off between actual and budget, and so is that another timing thing? Where
Yeah,
does
I'll
that
have to
land?
watch a little bit closer. As our money fluctuates in that LGIP account is how that's fluctuating and how the interest rate fluctuates.
Okay.
So my hope is that will catch up as we have more funds that go into that account.
It doesn't seem like it's that far out of range with the percentage on the end there, which will be a discussion item in the financial things that I like to keep track of. And so looking at the top of the page there, it says that month 2, we should be around the 16-17%
Right.
range. And so one of the things that I do is I scan that side of the page to see
Yeah.
ones that are way out of range or in either direction. And so
Yes.
that one seemed, so just sometimes the clarifying questions are generated by that kind of thing. And it's
Absolutely.
just a clarifying question.
I don't know that I added. Yeah, and I didn't add that one on the exception page.
The other one that was way kind of out of range was the HR employee recognition. And I know you did reference that, but it's that's a significant difference dollar wise between what was budgeted. So
We had ordered uniforms. And so that I didn't have uniforms budgeted for that month to have purchased that much. But the year to date is still under.
okay. Yeah.
So, yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely.
I believe that is the end of my questions on the financials. If nobody else has any questions, I would entertain a motion regarding the financials.
I move that we accept the financial report.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Motion has been made to accept the financial report by Commissioner Montero and seconded by Commissioner Romero. Any further discussion? In favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion passes unanimously. Continued business, new board position, job description, and selection process. So just to preface this was a task that was assigned at the last meeting to Commissioner Montero to work with our administrative assistant. Unfortunately, due to timing and our administrative assistant's absence, this process landed squarely on the shoulders of just Commissioner Montero. And so she has some late breaking information that she distributed to all of us for us to consider as far as what to do with the filling the board member vacancy. So has everybody received that information? It will be added to the packet in as far for the minutes is concerned for those
So
attending online.
I'd like to walk you through what you have received. And we'll start with the board policy. I've written policies and procedures for more than 25 years. So I have, and it's mainly been in the healthcare industry. So, and I happen to like doing it. That's a weird thing, but I happen to like it. So let's start off with the revised board policy B308. I'm sorry, that title on the page says 304 and it's 308. You will see the first page, there's a copy of the policy from 2013, and then it was updated in 2024. So those were the bases that I went from. I then drafted a revised policy, and I'm not calling the policy as a midterm board vacancy. This is not a new board position, so I don't refer to anything as new board position. I refer to it always as a vacancy. So the purpose, and this is all draft, so I'm going to give you the highlights. A board should always be defining when a vacancy can occur, and it's not just because somebody resigns. Somebody can be recalled, somebody can die. So I added that into this policy, when a vacancy can occur. And then our responsibility is to fill vacant positions in a timely manner, assuring a public process because it has the absence of an election. But that doesn't mean that the public should have should have no say just because there's not an election. So double policy, that we fill the board vacancy by a majority vote of the remaining members of the governing body. That's pretty much what it said in the first two, the previous policies. And then I added a timeline. Fill a vacancy on the board no later than the third business meeting following the declaration of the vacancy. So that could be actually 4 months down the line, as you'll see from the process. So the process starts with a board member wishing to resign submits a letter of resignation. And that letter can be effective immediately, but it has to be effective no later than the next scheduled board meeting. So it gives you your timeline. Board chair is going to notify the board of the receipt of a resignation of any board member or a vacancy due to recall or death, because that's going to be public knowledge. And then the declaration of the vacancy is actually official at the very next board meeting after the occurrence, either the resignation letter is received or the death or recall. And then at that point, the board initiates the process of filling the vacancy, which is selecting a deadline for the applications, having a date for a public forum. I built in that there is a public forum, public input into the selection process. A date for candidate interviews. I built in that candidates will be interviewed at a board meeting, and a deadline for which meeting is going to be the meeting for selection of the board. And you're going to probably build that up backwards as you go into this. And so in order to accomplish that, a work group of up to 2 board members will lead the process. And part of what they will do is they will put together the board application packet, which will include a copy of a press release, a cover letter for the process, including the name and number of the work group member for inquiries and questions. I thought about, okay, and all previous materials, say you send it to the executive director. Since this is a board function and a board responsibility, it doesn't seem to me that it's the appropriate thing to have staff be handling this process, but more the board. And that's why I wrote it the way I did. Then there's going to be the brief description of the district, including our mission and vision statements, our purpose, our goals, our plans, the board calendar, so that for the coming year, so people know this is part of what you're committing to. Any links to board meeting video, district budget, board meeting minutes. I started to say copies of, and then I thought, oh, that's a lot of paper. We'll give them links. But if a candidate wants it by paper, we will provide it by paper. And then the current board job description, and then an application form that includes the deadline for submission and directions to submit to the clerk of the board. Now that's where we think that's something that will need to be discussed. Clerk of the board is not something that we as a board have officially right now. It is in previous policies, as I've read all the policy manuals, but it's clerk of the board is technically the person who is the admin for the board. That can be the directions could be to submit to the person selected by the board who's on the work group. Then at the application closing date, all the applications are evaluated or collated, put together by the work group. The board chair will conduct the public forum. So there's a date for a public forum. There's going to be notices, etc. Then after a public forum and gathering public information from the public, the board will interview the candidates in one of the board meetings. So it's a public meeting. And all candidates will be asked the same questions so that it's totally fair. And then after that, at the selected board meeting, the board members will vote to fill the vacancy. So what this means is that board members will meet all the applicants. The public will meet the applicants. We would not be making decisions based on just what somebody puts on paper or what any one of us might or might not know about someone in the community. The votes must obviously be cast in accordance with Oregon public meeting law. The candidate with the majority vote would be appointed to the vacancy. That appointee will serve until, I don't know if I'm phrasing this all right. They have to sit for election to remain on the board. They're going to be filling out the unexpired term, except if the next election is in the next year, they're only going to be filling out till the next election, even if that is not their election year. That's public meeting, that's public law. So if we choose somebody, say December 2025, the next election actually isn't till May 2027. So that person would serve until then, at which point they could run for the position or they could decide they don't want to stay in the position. If we were choosing somebody in December of 2026, they're only going to be serving till May of 27 because they have to sit for election again. And so it's a little bit confusing. So that's state law.
So I just have a couple quick clarifying questions. I would love to, just to, as a way to move this on, I think this is a great policy. I don't know if you guys have read this through. I have a clarifying question as far as what your intent is and whether, I mean, I think we can leave it up to interpretation, but what was your intent with 6 and 7? Would those be separate meetings or could that all be in one board meeting?
I think I was thinking of separate meetings. I was thinking of, like a Sunday afternoon meeting, maybe where the public can come, because all the public cannot attend one of our board meetings at 10 o'clock on a Thursday morning. So more of a public forum kind of thing. So I think I was looking at 2 different meetings. So, but I think ultimately the board could decide every single time if they want to have it as 2 separate meetings or not.
So I like the way that it is, that it doesn't specify one or the other so that the board has the ability to determine that, because I think there could be situations where timing wise where you want that all to be in one, and other times where you have the luxury of time to set it up as something separate. I would also note that hosting a public forum then also has public meetings notice requirements and staff requirements. So again, that might not actually be functionally possible in all cases. If we leave it the way it is, we have the ability to evaluate what our options are on the table. I do like that this really calls out the need for it to be a public process, and that there's transparency in the process of applications being out there and the ability for people to apply, and the board will then be deciding rather than it happens just like that. And I think that opens the possibility of becoming a board member to more people. Commissioner Romero, any input?
I guess when I was looking at that, I always think of it, keep it as simple as possible so we can have participation from the public. Well, no, I agree with you.
Okay. Commissioner?
I just comment. I've sat on a few boards. I think in today's world, the responsibility and duty of a board member has expanded significantly. And it's going to get more complicated. That's all I want to say.
Yeah. Commissioner Legria?
Yeah, I'm concerned about the length of time, because every meeting that you don't have a new board member, they have a lot of catching up to do. So I didn't quite understand. I mean, would it take 4 months to fill?
I don't think it has to. That's my interpretation, but it could.
This design gives you a maximum of 4 months. Now, I have to tell you something that I was looking as I was doing the research for that the district has had in the past. At one point, the district, if the next election was 6 months out or less, the decision of the board at that point was not even to fill the position. That's very interesting that our history is that way, and it's back a ways. So, but this would give you the maximum of 4 months. You have to do it within 4 months.
I just think that's too long.
I think that the board has the ability to do it sooner. That's one
Yes.
of the reasons why I was asking, could this all be one meeting? I think that there are steps in here that could certainly take place much quicker than over, each step taking a board meeting.
This also provides the board members at the current time of the vacancy to decide and design their timeline. And they can make that as tight as they want.
Any further comment? I would entertain a motion about the draft revised policy B308. So a proposed policy change.
Well, I'll make that motion that we adopt the draft revised policy 308.
Is it 308 or 304?
It's 308.
I will second that.
Motion has been made by Commissioner Montero and seconded by Commissioner Romero. There's two names flowing off my tongue properly. Any further discussion?
I would like to have one piece of discussion, and that is if you look at the application, there is an inconsistency. Process 4B, the last bullet, submitting the application to the clerk of the board, I would change that to say submit the application to the transit to the district. And that leaves it open as to what name you actually put on there.
Commissioner Legrian.
Well, I realize that we need to fill it quickly, and there's shortage of things piled up, but hopefully we'll not do a board policy like this again, in terms of that we have some time to think about it, not at the meeting, but before we arrive here. Thank you.
And I'm sorry for that, the short.
Any further discussion? I would just say, yes, this is also recognizing the fact that we've been encumbered by staff issues and timing issues, and we are in the efforts to try and fill this vacancy, but have a policy that we can do it, that guides us going forward. All those in favor of adopting draft revised policy 3B308, I'd like to make one more minor amendment to this, to the motion, and have it changed to be formatted to match our other.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. This is only because
It will be, in its final iteration, be formatted and authorize the chair to sign. Is that an accepted friendly?
oh, that's it.
amendment?
Yes, absolutely.
All those in favor of that amendment to the motion?
I
All those opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Any further discussion?
well, there's a little bit more to this besides the
Great, but
policy.
we're on this, we haven't voted on this yet.
Oh.
That was just the amendment.
Oh,
All those in favor of adopting the draft revised policy B308 signify by saying aye.
I
Chair votes aye. All those opposed? Motion passes unanimously. We have adopted a new board policy B308. Carry on, Commissioner
Okay,
Montero.
so the next thing I'd like you to look at is the application. I did not change any of the questions. Well, actually, I made minor, unsubstantial changes. So, before we go to that, let's go to the information summary where I made some changes. This is the information that would be in the application packet to someone who wants to apply. I found the information to be good. I changed some things from a perspective of just how wording occurred, etc. The description, I did not change substance. I changed some words just to make it clearer. The mission statement I left alone. The Board of Commissioners and current officers I left alone. I did add in capital letters, commissioners for the Sunset Empire Transportation District must be registered to vote in the district. So that you know, if you're going in and you're not registered to vote in the district, you can't continue with this application.
Is that on the application?
It's not on the, no, I'll tell you, we'll get to the application. I'll show you what I did for that.
Can you repeat that again, please?
Commissioners for the Sunset Empire Transportation District must be registered to vote in the district. Okay, so then I added some stuff to board commitment. I did not make any big substantive changes on that. Upcoming board meeting schedules, did not really change that. Then the board member duties, which is kind of the job description. I did not make any big changes to that, except to the last paragraph. Together, the board makes decisions and sets policy for the district. No individual board member may act on behalf of or represent the board unless so authorized by a vote of the board. It is as a board that every board member has the opportunity to have a positive impact on Clatsop County. The board oversees the executive director, who is responsible for the operation of the district and implementing the policies established by the board. So some of this was already there. I tweaked it a lot, but then I added all of what we are responsible to do as board members. Attend and participate in board meetings. Participate in the activities of the board. Be prepared when attending board meetings by reading and considering all information on the agenda and contained in board packets. There's some typos in here. Participate in budget committee activities so as to adopt the annual budget in an informed fashion. Review all financial reports so as to approve adoption in an informed fashion. Participate in strategic planning and goal-setting activities for the district. Hire, oversee, and evaluate the performance of the executive director. Participate in setting standards, controls, and policies that support sound risk management practices are in place, e.g., safety and security, insurance, data controls, financial controls, personnel management. Comply with Oregon public meeting laws and Oregon ethics laws. Connect with the community, promoting use of public transit. So that is certainly open to discussion by everybody. I'll take you through the application. What I changed, there was a question on the application, are you a resident? And another question, are you a registered voter? I put those all together. Are you a resident and registered voter within Sunset Empire Transportation District? Okay, and then the other questions, I did not change any of those. I did add the last question. If appointed, would you be looking to sit for election? And it should probably say subsequent election, now that I think about it. And then please submit your application in a sealed envelope addressed to, and I left a name off of there. We can decide the name every single time. At the transit center, and you have the address. And then at the very bottom, application deadline would be noon on whatever day that the board at that time decides. And I didn't want to say 5 o'clock. I thought noon was a really good time to say it was a deadline. So I've put those things out for your consideration.
Comments? Commissioner Romero.
Yeah, I have a comment. Excuse me, maybe you can educate me here. But one of the things you said, you have to be a registered voter to vote. Okay, and so you have to be, in order to vote, you have to be a citizen of this country, correct?
Yeah.
Okay,
Correct.
so which nullifies people of color who are non-citizens.
Unfortunately, that's a state law.
That's a who?
Yeah, we don't get to change that.
Like, not my choice. It's a state law.
That's a state law.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought.
Yeah.
That's too bad.
Mhm.
Because it limits our input from,
Actually, that's where it is incumbent on us to make sure that we have people of color, people who are non-citizens on our committees.
Okay.
So
Because
this
we
is
need
our
to
elected
promote.
positions that
Yeah,
those requirements are in place, but not for our committees.
right.
So,
All right. I'll take a deep
Thank
breath.
yeah. Commissioner Legria.
I think perhaps I would suggest with this, whatever this,
I haven't talked about that yet.
I can't find all the papers, but go ahead.
You're looking at the cover letter,
Okay.
and that has a lot of discussion.
Okay. I would just one change. I appreciate all of your work in this. I think that you've called out a lot of different areas that need the minor edits and updates. And so I think that we do need to make sure that we're checking for typos and those kinds of errors and updating those. But I also appreciate the combining the question into, are you a resident and registered voter within the SETD? I'd like that to be more plain language and not quite have the verbiage that it has right now. Do you reside and are you a registered voter within Sunset Empire Transportation District?
Yeah, that can be
Written out.
It could be simplified.
Written out. So
Clatsop County.
yes, it could say
And
Clatsop County.
I debated with that on my own, because the district is Clatsop County, and I didn't know which one to put there, but
Yeah.
because people don't know
Right.
that.
So I think
agree
that
with you.
I think that that's
agree with you.
a good change to.
I can change.
But
it.
I think that the way that it is written right now is a little bit triggering to me, that are you a resident, because that has some different connotations to
Got
different
it.
people. But
Okay.
do you reside
Mm.
and are you a registered voter within Clatsop County? is a better way to say that.
Application. Where's the application? Oh, yeah, will you read that? Do you want me to simplify it even further and say, do you live in?
Sure. That's even more plain language. Thank you.
And I also have a question on whether the board has the responsibility of risk management, safety and security, insurance, data controls,
We do.
and personnel management.
We don't have the operational authority, but you notice it says setting standards, controls, and policies that support. And then it's the sound risk management practices in those areas. We don't do the operations part of it, but we certainly have.
I understand the operations. So in terms of something like sound risk management, what qualifications does the board have in terms of knowing what that is?
We make sure that we have an insurance policy, that the guidelines that are established under those policies are being enforced and are being applied across the board. That if there are reports of areas that are a safety risk, that if they float up to our level, that they are being managed, that we aren't, if we become aware of something, that we are taking action to make sure that those things are being taken care of. And ultimately, those responsibilities fall on our executive director to follow through and make sure that they happen. But if we hear about them, it is our responsibility to make sure that we're like, did you know? What are we doing to take care of this? So that is our collaborative responsibility.
So
And let me add, that is not new to this application. That was already on the application in the past.
Mhm.
Okay, so in the interest of time, moving us forward. With the minor edits and typo corrections, I would entertain a motion about accepting this revised application the way that it's been presented.
Make a motion to revise the application as been presented.
Without the specific,
With the changes.
With the
with the
change.
changes, but how does someone know when you're reading this what the changes are?
Well, they'll be made before it goes out. We just
I've been
discussed
writing them down.
We just discussed them.
No, I meant an amendment. You don't need that in the
It's
amendment.
in our record from the conversation that we just had.
Okay.
It's recorded. So, yes, with
Okay,
the transcript.
I got it.
Okay. And Tita's got them written down and I've got them written down and I saw David writing things down. So I think that between the writers and the transcript, we've got it. So there's been a motion.
And so, do we have a second for
No,
that?
we don't have a second yet.
I'll second.
The motion has been made by Commissioner Romero and seconded by Commissioner Montero to accept and adopt the application to fill a board vacancy has been presented with the edits and corrections. Any further discussion?
I would just add that this cover page is also part of the
Right.
whole thing.
Right.
Oh, I guess it's too late.
No, it's not.
Well, I just,
No, not that cover page, this cover page. That's the press release.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The microphone's got to hear you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
I
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion passes unanimously. Final piece of the puzzle.
The final piece is actually the press release, and all the stuff that's blue on this is what I was kind of bringing into question, in that if this is a board responsibility, how are we laying it on staff to do the functions? So might be open for discussion now.
okay, I think, well, this is my opinion. In terms of viewing this as an applicant, I'd like to have Mary also receive the emails. So she feels the calls or the position executive assistant. fields the calls, gives, and also receives the email
Oh, just
of the application,
the application.
Right.
Receives the application or receives inquiry emails?
both.
Okay,
Because none of us have an office here, so you want something, one point of receipt of the applications.
My thought process is that we may not have an office here, but if something is mailed here to the name of the person chosen by the board to lead the process, then that person's going to get it. And that person, again, if they're the person chosen by the board to lead the process, they should be getting the inquiries and the questions. Again, so we don't place this on operational staff because it's not an operational duty.
But it is the duty of my understanding is the executive assistant also does duties for the board, and this would be one of the duties.
But I'm going to be very careful on this one right now. We don't have an executive assistant right now. And if we want to move forward with this right now, I think we need to choose somebody to move forward with it. And this is always open to when we need it again, we change it again. But we have time constraints on ourselves now. And I think we need to acknowledge those and how we're going to move forward right now.
I will have an operational question for our director. If this were to go out to the public at the moment, the way that it is, and people send requests or emails or attempt to contact Mary via her email address while she was absent, what happens with those emails?
We have no contingency for that.
Okay.
Mary's supposed to be back on Monday.
Okay, but we're planning for our situation that we're in right now, and I think that in this case, it would be wise to designate somebody else as the recipient for inquiries. And completed applications should be emailed to the same person that's the inquiry person. So it shouldn't be two different people, especially in this case. And I think that right now what we're deciding is the press release that's going to go out right now, not a future process. That is in the hands of a future board, and what that press release would be. So at this time, this would be the press release that we send out. Who do we want to designate as the recipient of inquiries for receiving packets, receiving information, questions about how, where, when, why, and then to send those applications? So what is the board's desire? Commissioner Romero?
I'm thinking about it.
Commissioner Alegria?
Well, since this is Thursday and Mary's going to be back Monday, I don't see why we have to designate somebody else to do this.
I was told she was going to be back last Monday, so I think that there's the potential that she may not be back on Monday, that there may be an extended absence, which this isn't, I don't think our decision should be based on, should create pressure for Mary to come back. I think that we should set up a contingency plan.
Okay,
Commissioner Montero?
I think I've been clear. I think this is a board responsibility. This needs to be someone on the board who prepares the press release, who guides the process, and who moves the board forward with this. And I would say that whether or not Mary was here, but I think even more so now that we really do not know. You know, I wouldn't want to be considering it in the absence of knowing what staff person might be available. Again, I see this as a board responsibility.
I would concur with that statement.
I was just going to ask you what you thought about that. Okay. I I also agree that not just in this situation, but in any situation going forward, that at least a board member should be the lead on it. And when there is an executive director, an executive assistant to assist in the process available, that there should be a sharing of responsibilities of collating and distributing and preparing of information to go out to the rest of the board. Seeing that we need to appoint somebody from the board to be that point person, I am open to suggestions or volunteers from the board to fill that position. To be the recipient and person receiving questions and then also applications.
Since I've done all the work thus far, I would not be opposed to continuing to do the work.
Is that somebody like to I would be happy to nominate our secretary Montero to be that lead person if the board is in favor of that.
And now that I think about it, that's an appropriate job for the secretary of the board.
Yep.
I would love it if another board member wanted to work with me, but that would be fine too.
Okay, so
I'll work with you, but I'm not crazy about, I still think it should be someone who's in the office 8 hours a day.
these materials will be available via our website, and our staff here will have accessible, this will be accessible for our staff to distribute, but we need to make sure that we have somebody that's receiving them. So. Aye. Okay, that was just a consensus. That was not a motion, that was an appointment. So Commissioner Montero will be the email address for contact regarding applications and submittal of applications, gathering them. Commissioners Alegria and Romero, I would like to also appoint a second person to the committee to gather and collate the applications that we receive to bring them forward to present and then communicate to the board regarding that. Do I have a volunteer? Appreciate that, Commissioner Alegria. So Commissioner Montero has the assistance of Commissioner Alegria during this process. Thank you. All right.
I would like to add that on the press release, you see.
So we're going to vote to.
And I would not use this press release.
Okay.
I would rewrite this in a major fashion.
Okay.
And I've been doing press releases for 30 years or so. So I think that middle paragraph is probably, but the process now that we've decided it, it needs to go into the press release.
So I'm going to make a suggested motion that we authorize Secretary Montero to draft a press release to be sent out on the behalf of the board that will go out to the press, our social medias. It will be sent to our staff here to distribute, and the board will receive it prior to it being received for press release, with the ability to know what is being said. We can't have a meeting to discuss what is being said, but if there are major issues, our secretary will put a hold on the letter to be released. Is that agreeable? That's a motion. It's a long one, but it's a motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, discussion on that long motion. Commissioner Alegria.
Okay, the paragraph that's in blue, the sentence, if midterm vacancy occurs, request applications to temporarily fill the position until the next open election is held. Well, that's not the next line. I think it's, I think I would delete it. I think it adds confusion.
Right, and that's why this is in blue, because there's a lot in here that adds to confusion. It could be clarified the way anything's written, and now that we've decided a process, we need to be instructive to the public as to what the process is.
So Commissioner Legrier, Commissioner Romero, Commissioner Montero, my motion was to authorize the secretary to rewrite the press release. This will not be the press release
Okay, do we get
to go out, and the board will receive it prior to it being released. If there are major problems with it, the board will individually let me know, and I will call a halt to the press release going out, which will then put us off to the next meeting before we can discuss it. That's the motion.
Oh, whatever, first or second, whatever's
It's been made and seconded.
second.
Any further discussion? In favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Chair votes aye, motion passes unanimously. Okay,
I think that's all for me for that.
okay, so that was 10A, continued business, new board position. We also had an assignment for a TAC committee nominations and process that would have been a similar, probably slightly shorter process. Unfortunately, Commissioner Bush-Schmidt could not be here with us today, and our executive assistant also was not available, so we're going to table this. I move to table this till our next meeting.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded, moved by Chair Klezak and seconded by Commissioner Montero. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Chair votes aye, motion passes unanimously. RLS audit report. Executive Director Carr.
I just included a spreadsheet. Sorry for the small font. I wanted to be on the same page. Realize how tiny it was. It just showed the topics, the 13 topics that were identified in that report, and that all 13 of them were responded to, and all the responses have been accepted. I just thought I would provide you a little bit of detail of what they were and that they've all been addressed.
Any questions from the board? I would request that the board receive a copy of the entire audit report from RLS.
Is that a motion or just a request?
I don't think we have to have a motion for that.
Okay.
No, yeah. So will they?
But the rest of the board is against that and doesn't think they need it. They certainly could say that.
I would like to see it as well. Will that come out with a digital file or paper?
I can do digital.
Digital?
Yeah. Distributed to the board in digital file.
So you want a copy of the report?
Yes, the entire report.
So, I'm sorry, so can we get a printed copy or not? Just request it?
Just
Request it in the format you need it.
Okay.
some of the information contained herein is confidential, so.
What information would be
Fair
confidential?
transit application.
In the report wouldn't contain the applications.
No, it would not. Want to make sure that there's not anything in here that. Okay, unless there's something that's really,
Well, if it's confidential, just.
no, it's not. I stand corrected. Just some of the, I think the training. I would have to review the training tracking and how that is done and provided, because there is confidential information there.
I would think
That would
that
not be
only
in the-
confidential information would be the names of the employees. That's PII. But how you track training, because it looked like the issue was that was training being tracked, and the remedy was you installed a tracking mechanism. So I don't see any of that as being confidential, because we're not talking about who's doing the training, how, whether they're completing the training, etc.
Okay, I think that was got the sign over here, that was an internal note, not a. So while there is confidential information related to that, we're not provided in the report, so they're perhaps not.
Right, right.
Okay,
Okay.
Wonderful.
New business, schedule budget workshop and expectations of the board. It's my understanding we have scheduled the budget workshop.
We've sent out several doodle polls, and this is the most responses I've got say they can attend this. I have not heard back from everyone. So at this point, this is the best available date for most of the members, and I've scheduled it.
Or September 29th.
September 29th.
Public meeting notice needs to go out.
Okay, we will do that. And then the question before this group is, what are your expectations for this workshop? And how can we, because that way it helps us prepare if we know specifically what you're looking for, what things you'd like to see, and the like.
You're calling this a budget workshop. Is this to look over the current budget, or is this a workshop for the board to inform staff how we would like budget reports presented to us? That's what
I think either way, I mean.
No,
That's what I'm asking for is what you want, so we know we to prepare for it, so.
So if I may,
Sure, go ahead.
this budget workshop was the budget workshop that the board asked to be done within the first quarter to review the budget to make sure there were not any items that we needed to revise and amend based on the adopted budget. So this budget workshop is to review the adopted budget to make sure that at this point, the board doesn't see anything that we are going to need to amend.
Budget review workshop.
Yes.
And that was an amendment when the budget was approved.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
this is a
we'll
Go back
required
and
task.
look at the amendment. Look at
So
the.
just help me out here. I'm not really understanding what we're reviewing specifically. We're just looking at the categories. We're looking at the dollar amounts. What, I mean.
My expectation would be to see that whole budget document again with either with more explanation where it came from. Because I'll be the first to say I'm the one who said they didn't think the budget was correct. We need to review it to make sure, is it correct? Is it done right? And so that we can.
And I will add
put our
into that,
feelers to
based on the fact that the board required that to be done within the first quarter of the year, as well as we have received new information. There is new information that is currently coming out. It gives us an opportunity to incorporate any new information we have got into our evaluation of the budget going forward, to make sure that what we have budgeted meets not only correct budgeting, having things in the right place and right time, but correct based on current information that we have available.
What current information are you referring to?
Transportation budget, transportation package information, what budgeting monies we have available, the amounts of money that we have in which categories, do we have them aligned correctly based on our experience at this time?
So
David.
I just wanted to say that we may not have that information at the time of this meeting.
Then this meeting cannot happen at that time.
Okay.
And David, I'd be more than happy to send to you the detailed emails that I sent to Kelly with my concerns.
Okay. So then would it be appropriate then to reschedule this once we've determined what the legislation has been done? And then we can know what, because I have another item I was going to bring up about the STIF funding, and it could be two totally different budgets. If we get the money, the budget's going to look one way. If we don't get the money, it's going to look a different way.
You have your
Commissioner
part up.
Romero.
I don't
Yep.
want to.
Well, by your discussion, my questions have been answered. So it's a matter of focusing on the process as well as budget items and making sure we have our bases covered.
Correct.
Okay, but David brought up a good point in anticipation of the budget. Should we hold off before? How can we make a sound, reasonable decision without?
Well, just one thing. I think that since this meeting has been set, the transportation package discussion was put off again.
Okay.
And it was put off until the 29th at this point, which means that when this was scheduled, it should have been resolved last week. It didn't happen. And now we are here again in this situation. The whole state is in this same ballgame as far as that part of the discussion. I think that the requirement to relook at the budget was part of an assumption that that transportation package was going to go through.
Right.
I think that this is taking advantage of the opportunity to look at both things if we are able to. We may not be able to wait out the transportation package. Commissioner Montero.
The amendment that was made to the motion to adopt the budget gave this board 90 days to rework the budget. I believe that's how it was phrased. And I do not believe the intent had anything to do with whether or not the transportation package had passed, had not passed, or whatever. It was all about whether or not the basic budget was correct in its format, in its assumptions, in its placement of monies in categories. And that was what the intent was.
So it was a review of the budget.
A review and, if needed, rework.
Mm-hmm. Commissioner Alegria.
Right, so we have a work session meeting on October 23rd, is that correct?
That is about the financial reports.
Okay, so, well, I understand that we wanted to review how the budget was compiled. But because of transportation at the state level has not been approved or not, we're in a bit of a, I think we need discussions because that's serious, whatever the outcome is. So that we should also schedule an appointment that we don't get things mixed up. Because if we do this on the 29th, we may or may not have the information. I mean, just leave it at that. So it may be postponed again. So, but I think we should set a meeting at the 29th for another meeting regarding the allocation, regarding the decision of the transportation package.
Commissioner Montero.
Since we have 2 dates, September 29th and October 11th,
No.
October 23rd.
October 23rd, why don't we just flip the topics? And on the 29th, it's how do we want the financials represented to us? And then we do the budget review on October 23rd.
October 23rd meeting was set for an hour, just prior to the
an hour is not
meeting.
enough.
Exactly, and that is why we wanted the budget discussion, the budget review on an entirely separate day so that we could allocate enough time. And so I still am hearing, and am even more leaning towards postponing the 29th, which is in a few days, which means the board has not received the budget to review. Information has not been compiled. The staff doesn't have that ready. That is not going to be a successful meeting if we run into it now the way that things are. We don't have the information that we're going to need. So that is my leading the discussion in a specific direction. But it's up to the board to decide what they want to do at this point. Commissioner Montero.
I could agree to that, but that will require, I think, a board motion because we already have a motion and a directive to ourselves that gives us 90 days to do that task. And that will take us past the 90 days. So we need to revise our direction and our commitment to ourselves and to the district.
Commissioner Alegria.
Okay, well. Okay, so I think we just have to do it because I don't like attending meetings that you don't have time to redo something. But I'm also upset a bit that there wasn't a response from all the board members. And I think that is part of our responsibility is to answer a doodle poll one way or the other. And we all have other things to do, and it's not a good way to conduct business.
So I would like to make a motion that we extend our deadline for a total review of the 25-26 fiscal year budget to occur no later than November 30th, 2026.
Motion has been made.
2026?
Oh, 2025,
Okay.
excuse me. Thank you. No, thank you. So basically giving ourselves permission to extend that 90-day deadline to 120-day deadline.
That's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Motion has been made by Commissioner Montero and seconded by Commissioner Romero to extend the deadline for reviewing the budget until November 31st for the meeting to happen before 30th, before November 30th, 2025.
To occur no later.
Yeah. Any discussion? Commissioner Allegri?
Okay, I think we're sort of piling things up, boom, boom, boom. I'm a little concerned that, we haven't made a decision about the November, December, but traditionally, in other words, time is short before the end of the year. And I'd rather see this done correctly and not be bound by such a tight notice in terms of until completed.
Okay. Any other discussion?
And my rebuttal to that is we need to give ourselves a deadline. If you don't give yourself a deadline, you will never get it done. And you don't want that deadline to be so far into your fiscal year that it's meaningless. So that's a deadline. And that the financial situation of this district is of utmost importance. That's how we keep our services running, etc. We need to all be on the same page and on board. And we haven't said, okay, we're going to still have this meeting on the 29th. It would be a purposeless meeting. So this sort of addresses that as well. But it gives us, and I think I'm being generous in giving us 2 more months to do this.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed?
No.
Roll call.
Okay. Okay, roll call. Anybody online? See that there is anybody online. Okay. Commissioner Romero.
Aye.
Okay. Commissioner Allegri.
No.
Commissioner Montero. Sorry.
Yes.
Commissioner.
Yes.
Is that mine? Oh my goodness gracious.
Motion passes
Sorry.
3-1. Schedule strategic planning workshop.
I'm sorry.
So at this point now, that means Monday is
Off, and we're sending out another doodle poll to make sure that we're having that budget meeting happening before November 30th.
I was still hoping to get just a little more information on expectations. So what I've heard, just to be clear, is we want to review the whole budget from the previous whole budget, right? And what was submitted in June.
What was approved.
Was approved in July.
Mhm.
Okay. And then we want to have be prepared to look at the explanations, of where that was derived from and what's supporting whatever that we arrived at those numbers. Then any new information we get from the transportation budget, I want to include that.
If it would cause us to need to revise the budget.
Well, I think that, and I'm just thinking out loud here. So we have a budget review, then we'll have a need to do a budget revision. I think that may be two different things.
Well, we can't do the actually revise the budget in the workshop. We're just going over the information so that we know whether we need to make any revisions. So any new information would be provided so that we could add that into our knowledge and the time that we are looking at the budget. It's a workshop, so we cannot make any decisions in the workshop. We're just going over information.
So then it would just lead to, if we're fortunate enough to get the additional STIF money and all those kind of things, we would have to then have another budget revision.
And at a meeting, you propose that budget amendment.
But there would be a need to do that.
At a board meeting.
At a board meeting.
Yes.
Okay, not at the
Correct.
workshop.
Correct.
So I'm just.
Yes,
Okay.
correct.
Okay. And then, so you would want to see that entire budget ahead of time,
Mhm.
and then any new information we would have, we would provide that.
Mhm.
And that would be just for information only, not for,
And for discussion. I mean, we can discuss those.
okay, we just
And
can't.
you send out a workshop packet, just like you would normally, and it gets, we have a
Okay.
workshop agenda that gets posted and all of those things. But first we have to schedule it, and then we go from there. Okay,
Thank you.
strategic planning workshop.
Yeah.
Okay.
Commissioner Alegria.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, this will be the third time we've scheduled this, and people have I did everything on time, done, and now I've scheduled stuff, and we're left, I want to be in the conversation, but you're given a very short time period. And I'm a bit upset about this, but
Thank you. Strategic planning workshop.
So, we've discussed hosting a strategic planning workshop in January 2026. We have, I met with the SDAO provided contractor for doing strategic planning and received an estimate of their cost. I have also reached out to the team that did the
Coraggio.
I was gonna ask you about Coraggio, that group who I have a meeting with, tomorrow. Yeah, so I will meet with them tomorrow to go over our, what we want for our strategic plan, and then, what their budget estimate would be. And I will, hopefully be able to present that at the next board meeting. So I have interviewed the one SDAO contractor, and I will with them.
Commissioner.
So for board members to know and understand is that a strategic planning session isn't a 1 hour meeting. It's not a 2 hour meeting. What we should budget for in our lives is probably a 4 to full day meeting, because when you do strategic planning, you dig in a lot further. And so that's just for us to be aware of and keep in our minds.
Commissioner Alegria.
so, little concern, one, we didn't put this in the budget. Two, I don't see why we can't do this. We can't, ourselves. And, three, I think January is just, the director hasn't been in this position, that you need a little more time to see what's happening, with the sunset.
Commissioner Romero. Did you have any comments?
Pardon?
Did you have any comments?
No.
Questions? Okay.
If I might, Pamela, the need for the strategic plan is it guides the development of the strategic plan, the enterprises that we're going to make ourselves. So it helps by having the board strategic plan guides the enterprise, the district's strategic plan. So we really need your guidance and your vision and your information so that we create our strategic plan and future budgets and future activities based on the direction we're getting from the board. Typically, this is an all-day thing. We would serve lunch. We would do a retreat. So we wouldn't necessarily meet here. We would find a location nearby that was ADA accessible. It would be a public meeting, but we would have a facilitated discussion on how to construct the proper strategic plan at this level. And we could go further and have it describe it on the lower levels, but because, as you mentioned, we had budget for this, I feel that if we have the guidance from the board and we were going to go through these workshops with the budget, we'll be able to align the financial part with the operations and activity part based upon the direction we get from the board. So as I mentioned before, I could draft something up and put it together, but it's not. We need the direction from the board to begin that first step. We need to know what the vision and direction of the board is. And once we have that, then we would align our activities to that. And a facilitated strategic plan is not unusual. I've done them before, where I've done my own strategic planning, but I think initially having that with this board, going through the process, so you understand how you're going to give us direction, and then we understand clearly the steps that were executed to come up with your plan. We'll mirror that in our plan development, and we'll align. It's really about aligning with what the board direction is.
And I will echo what our executive director said, is that our district has not done a full strategic plan in a long time. And so it's very valuable to us to
push it to February or March. I mean, you're just going boom, 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 without a lot of time to think about things, but that's my opinion.
I think that having a target dated as January won't necessarily actually end up with it in January. I think the board and the availability of the consultants is going to determine when this, in essence, will actually end up being. We do also have budgeting and some other timing things that we need to consider. So if we push it out too far, then what we do in the strategic plan can't be incorporated into our budgeting process. So there is a kind of a window of opportunity, and really going any time past February won't allow us to incorporate these things into our future budget. And so I think shooting for January with the knowledge that we might need to stretch it into February, it is good for us all to know, but we're shooting for January so that potentially can happen, so that we can incorporate those things into our budget. We'll see what happens. I also just want to say that I think that the final decision as to who we want to go with as a facilitator based on their proposals is a board decision. And so the board will want to see those proposals and what the different consultants say that they're going to provide to us and what they want to do. That's a board decision as far as who we want to facilitate our strategic plan. So look forward to what our executive director has to bring back to us at the next meeting to land on.
So, and that's the point I was going to make. So theoretically, that decision will not be made until our next board meeting, at which time I hope we can also select the date.
Mm-hmm. Commissioner Romero.
Well, I applaud you for planning that again, because there's a lot of unknowns in the future regarding, public funding and transportation. So I applaud you for doing that, because I think it's very essential.
I think it's a different approach than your traditional list of tasks. We really need to, grasp the vision of what the board has and the direction we're going to go. We need to be able to understand some flexibility. If we get more funding, we're going to go one way. If we If no funding, we'll go a different way. And there is even a possibility because of the sunsetting of this law, we may have a stop go and so we don't have a clear horizon. We have a lot of things that we're going to have to consider in this, and we may have option A, option B, option C. And it's so early in the process for me, as Pamela mentioned, I need the guidance. I need the direction. I need to understand what the priorities are. And then we really need to focus on our budget process and our operational response to align with that. I think there's been a disconnect, and I think that this is the perfect way to align those. And I've seen it done in a lot of other organizations, and it really works well.
Okay.
I think this is the perfect kickoff for one of the ways that we discussed setting up the board for a successful strategic plan is to have presentations from different parts of the team leading up to that strategic plan. So David has lined up 2 presentations for us today that are going to be 6 to 7 minutes each. I don't know who the presenters are, but I'm just throwing that out there. So the board can learn more about what our internal departments do for our district now. And
Okay.
go.
I don't know that. Okay, I'm sorry. I think I had a different order. Well, I'm sure they're ready. I know Jason's ready. He's been ready twice now.
All right.
So if you don't mind, Jason, just give it, go ahead and.
Ready? Want me to go?
Yes.
Ready? Okay.
I'm going to excuse myself for
Okay.
just a moment.
Right back. Now I'll interject some really cool things here into this meeting. Not that.
Jim, can you tell us who you are first?
Yeah, my name is
This is for
Jason
the sake
Jones.
of the
Yeah,
viewing audience as well.
Jason Jones. I'm the mobility manager for the district. I'm in my 22nd year working for us, and so I'll stand right here.
Perfect. Yes.
Okay.
Let's please be on camera and not just
Okay,
a
so that's taking
disembodied
1 minute of my
voice.
time.
Oh,
Just
so sorry. Yep.
Okay, so anyways, mobility management. I really want to answer a few questions for you. What is mobility management? What we do and the future. There are some pretty cool pictures you can take a look at there. But mostly, that's what we want to do, right? We want to answer some of these questions. So what is mobility management? It's really like a music conductor. In short, you have transportation options that you guys need to take advantage of. People out there, you have individuals who with disabilities, older adults, a whole lot of potential problems. And we have solutions for them, including opening doors for them. And those solutions require a music conductor for some people. I play music, so for me that was very natural. So I like to conduct and try to organize individuals. See people that are riding the bus, there's paratransit, and then the other 2 pictures are just me. We enhance the community that we serve. Everything that I do needs to be given back to operations, to David, to the board, to say, hey, we are accessible or we're not accessible. And this is what we need to do to fix it. Or at least suggestions. Monkey wrench, if you call it that. What is mobility management? We focus on the individual. Every time I report to the state loves to hear some of the stories that I have regarding some of the individuals that I help. Indeed, I work with groups of people. School, I work with schools quite often and everything, but in this case, I really get a chance to visit with people individually and get to understand what their challenges are. And understanding the specific challenges to that individual is incredibly important to being able to have a successful outcome for them. So, thank you. Anyways, okay. Now, there's some funny pictures on here, but there's some seriousness to it. The mobility management, we promote transit awareness and education in the community. Just the other day, I was in Seaside at Bob Chisholm Center for a health community fair. It was cool. It was fun. I engaged with about 90 individuals. A lot of fun. So we got just some of our setup there that we have over at like the senior center up there in the upper left-hand corner. We bring people right here into this boardroom from time to time to do transit engagements. An engagement is more of a group setting. I go out and I work with individuals on the bus and show them how to pull that cord. And then I even make travel training videos where I will subject myself to bad weather and lots of rain and all that kind of stuff. So mobility does connect older adults, people with disabilities. I work with individuals with vision impairments, physical impairments, and learning disabilities and cognitive disabilities as well. I work with veterans, students, and basically I work with everybody. It's just really can be made that simple. And really, this little slide here just kind of tells you that I feel like I have a good connection with my community. And that's what I really care about is whatever I do, whatever directive that I get, whatever the board is there to support me in doing, this is us connecting to our community, one by one or by group. So one of the things that is very important to really understand what I do is I work with the Title VI, make sure that Title VI is up to date. Once a week, I try to read through as much of the Title VI as I can, just to ensure that we keep our document up to date. In fact, we just recently did an update through RLS, and I took some of their suggestions and worked it through David, and then ultimately success. I try to connect with at least 5 individuals weekly. There's just one of me, so 5 people to work with them in travel training and so forth is pretty good. I engage with youth. Youth is incredibly important. There are future writers, or future drivers, or future board members. So I want to go out there and educate them with that. I assist low-income individuals. I worked with, I could tell right around 350 people last year. Worked with them. Those we have some great interactions with our low-income population. Just really glad that we're here for them. Working with scheduling managers. If you have a scheduling manager who doesn't quite understand the bus schedule, I can come in and work with that scheduling manager. It's kind of a weird little niche, but hey, we want to keep people in their jobs. Project development like microtransit. You guys, there's a little card that I gave you in your board pack. It's a RAC card. Little slow start, but I'm telling you we're gaining some traction. Okay. And then I create travel training videos, and I'll just show you one of those really super quick. And I'm actually going to interrupt this. I'm not going to go a full minute and a half. Oh, okay. Well, it doesn't seem to want to do it. Oh, here we go.
What in the world is the Bicycle ABC Quick Check? Well, let's find out in this episode of the Mobility Minute. Before every ride, perform an ABC Quick Check to ensure that your bicycle is in good working order. Let's first check for the air to ensure that the tubes are inflated with the right amount. Look for markings on the side of the tire to find your tire's proper pounds per square inch, or PSI. Make sure that the tires are in good condition and without punctures or holes.
So I'm going to interrupt this and move
Brakes,
on.
both front and rear.
The video goes on to just describe why I'm going to train people how to use their bike on the bus. I better kind of come in and help them understand and keep their bike safe. So our future goals with mobility are pretty cool. We want to overall ensure that the program's sustainability is being sustained across the entire bit of the mobility project. So every piece of my strategic goal is to keep the program going, keep the services accessible to our community. I want to stand up a new rural veterans transportation program that's within reach right now. We are not doing that right now. We did it once before, and it was phenomenal. We need to bring that back. Bring microtransit to full operation. It's the way of the future. Microtransit is what it's going to look like for transit down the road. I really look forward to all of you. Any questions, if you want to get out there, ride microtransit or whatever, or learn a little more about it, get a hold of me, and we'll get you on there, okay? And then, of course, expand travel training media content. Just keep going with those videos. I think the state likes them a little bit. I'm not sure if Arla likes my videos a whole lot. But that has gotten out to so many people. There's so many views. I've had people from out of town said they watched a video of mine and then made a decision that it was accessible to come visit us here. So let's keep that going. I want to enhance what you guys are seeing in here. Part of that microphone you see in here is just a little half measure. I want to ensure that not only this board, but people who come in and use this board, like when I have travel training or whatever here, we have a very, very good, clear line on technologies, and we can strengthen that communication. I feel right now we can do a whole lot better. I want to ensure that my program constantly interacts with 260 riders per year. That's travel trained, that are watching and listening to their stories,
and helping them in every direction that we could possibly do. And then build and maintain a mobility travel training center. We have some movement that's happening around here. I presented to the board, I think a few years ago, about something like this. Do you remember, Kathy? And I think it was pretty cool. I want to see that happen because there's just so much that we need to do, and I can get some of that done. So anyhow, other than that, thank you very much. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to me anytime. In the effort of time, it's my guy's turn next. Oh, I'm sorry.
Did I have a question?
Yes.
Do you connect with the veteran service officer who works for CCA?
I have before, and in fact, I'm just reigniting that conversation right now to get us moving forward.
Wonderful. And the other thing, and this is more a comment to the rest of the board, I find it very valuable, and I think I would say I consider it a responsibility of mine as a board member to sign up to follow the SETD Facebook page, and every time it comes up, to like it and to share it. I think it's totally our responsibility. That is one way we engage with the community and we support public transit.
Good morning, everybody. I can still say good morning. My speaker notes here, so I was kind of hoping I would. So what comes to mind when you hear the words HR or human resources? My name is Nadai Ross. Sorry. I'm the Human Resources Manager for Sunset Empire Transportation District. And when I was asked to do this presentation, the first thing that came to mind, I'm like, well, HR, everybody knows what HR does, But then I started thinking a little bit more, and I'm like, well, a lot of people don't know how HR has actually changed over time. So when it comes to mind, HR, what do you think of? Well, a lot of people think trouble. A lot of people think what's happening now, what's changing. Well, what you guys don't understand is that HR stands for human resources. It is, as the name implies, it is the people side of the organization. It means that we are supposed to support the employees. We're supposed to engage them. We are aligning them with the organization's strategic goals. That's why the strategic planning is so important for an organization. Because if we don't know where the organization is heading to, then we wouldn't know exactly how to align our employees and support them and give them the training that they need to actually create a stronger environment and organization. So one of the things that we do to help our employees is actually create training to support them and provide them with the skills that they need. We also provide compliance and risk management to the organization so that we can make sure that we're following all of the labor laws, and we improve productivity and engagement. I actually sent out a survey to the employees about, I have to say, maybe 3 weeks ago, and I only received about 5 replies on that survey, which means that the engagement of the employees is not where we need it to be. We need for it to be a lot higher. We need for them to give us feedback on what are some of the things that we can be improving and some of the things that they're needing from us to be able to support them. So that to me is extremely important, because if the employees are not telling you what's happening, then there is no way that you can actually fix it. These are some of the core functions that HR has. We recruit and hire people. We look for candidates. We try to seek out the best candidates out there, and we try to hire them. We do employee relations. We solve problems, conflicts, performance management. We set expectations that align with the strategic planning of the company to make sure that the employees are actually heading towards meeting those goals. Compensation and benefits, performance management, compliance. We keep the company safe when it comes to labor laws. For that, we need a strong HR software. I know that I have mentioned it before. What we have right now is not ideal for us. It does not perform a lot of the tasks that HR needs to be able to perform and develop our employees. A strategic role, we actually align the workforce. We actually provide all the training that they need, not only for the employees, but also for the management team. Because if you have management that are not up to speed on what the laws are, they're not up to speed on how to actually manage employees, then everything starts to fall apart. We drive diversity, equity, and inclusion, and we encourage innovation through people management. Some of the things that we also do is reduce turnover. I don't know if you guys are aware, but every time an employee leaves the company, there's about half to 1.5 the salary of that employee to be able to replace them. So when we try to keep the employees that we actually have in the company, to make them happy, and we provide everything that they need to perform their jobs, we actually reduce turnover cost, which saves the company a lot of money. We boost employee engagement, ensure legal compliance, and create positive workplace culture, which is a stronger reputation for the organization. In short, and although I'm a little bit nervous, I just want to make sure that you guys understand the importance of HR, the importance of providing HR with the right tools to not only support the management team, but to also be able to develop the employees that we currently have and the employees that are looking to join the organization. I think that training is essential for any organization, because once you actually develop the employees that you have, they feel happy, they feel like they actually have a say on the organization and the culture, and they want to help build it and make it stronger. So that to me is what HR is being part of the human and being part of providing those resources to those employees. Any questions?
Mr. Montero.
A specific task that crosses all of those lines has to do with accurate position descriptions. And in reading all the position descriptions that I got in my orientation manual, I can see that we have outdated position descriptions. And you and I spoke about this when I had my orientation. So can you describe for the board members what your current project is on position descriptions?
So my current project is on actually reviewing all of the descriptions, the job descriptions that we have right now. When I first started with the company, I noticed that they were not aligned, they were not updated, they haven't been updated in many, many years. So I requested, since we're doing so many changes with the staff and everything in the organization has changed, I requested the management team, I started with the managers, to provide to me feedback on, I sent them out the job description that I had, and I requested for them to provide feedback on that job description, what they're still doing, and what something new that they have been doing that is not in there. Part of that review is to kind of know what exactly their process is right now and start revamping that job description. Then I will have a meeting with them and go over every one of those line items. Make sure, how long do you actually do this process? Does it really need to be in the job description? Because if you do it maybe once a year, then maybe it doesn't necessarily need to be in there if it doesn't take that long to do the process. So that's where we're at in the process. I'm starting with the management team, and then I will go down to the supervisors, and I'll make sure that I do every single one of them.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great presentation. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You too, Jason. Thank you. So we have to make sure that both of those presentations are included in the minutes so that we have those accurately recorded, especially for those board members that were unable to be here today. Thanks. So next item is new business.
Is there any, can we get a copy of the human resources?
Both of those presentations will be in the minute. Yeah.
Okay.
So the employee performance discussion is an item that I put on the agenda. And just to preface this, I did offer to have a discussion with Executive Director Carr and offered to have this in executive session, and he chose to have this in as a public meeting discussion. So hopefully everybody's read the packet and read what is in here. And this is an information sharing agenda item. It doesn't require any action. This is so that the board knows what I know, and conversations that happened, so that there's no question of transparency or potential of the board feeling like that they weren't entitled to all of the same information and conversation that happened as I did. So in accordance with Oregon Public Meeting Law and Oregon Government Ethics Law, I submitted this report to the board. It outlines that there was a conversation regarding the testimony that was submitted that happened at the last board meeting, and a conversation that prefaced that, which was between myself and the Executive Director Carr, that happened at the time of the actual meeting of the Transportation Commission on funding happening, and his statement to me regarding his acknowledgement of submitting of testimony and agreement that would be done within the 48-hour time window. And my assumption after that had then happened without having to go back and check on that. So 2 days later, when we had our meeting, I presented to the board with that assumption that Executive Director Carr had followed through and submitted testimony to the Committee on Transportation Funding. The board discussed that and then approved the testimony submittal after the fact, which the board had already directed him to do in the previous meeting. And so we went forward with that assumption. On the following Friday, when I was reviewing the testimony happening and the process happening, trying to figure out when there was going to be a further opportunity for testimony to be submitted, I discovered that there was no submittal of testimony by Sunset Empire at that time. And so I emailed Director Carr, who then reported that he had run into some difficulties and hadn't submitted the testimony in the way that I had described, and he had not corrected during the meeting. And so we went from there. I watched the testimony, and I provided a link to both the board and to Director Carr to provide further testimony at a later date, which he then acknowledged that he had done. And so that whole email exchange is in the notes and in the packet. And I just wanted the board to know that that's how that all had happened. So
Thank you.
that was all, just informing the board that had happened. And I didn't know if the board can decide whether they want to discuss it further or ask any questions. That's entirely up to the board. That's what that item was. And then a further item, yes, Commissioner Montero.
In reading this and in submitting my own testimony to the Transportation Commission or to the legislature, I know at the same time you had sent out to all of us that they're open now, you can submit testimony, etc. And so what I can disclose is that I sent email to Executive Director Carr expressing some surprise that I didn't see testimony already there, because it had been my understanding at our last board meeting that the letter had been sent not only to Javity and Weber, but that it had been submitted as testimony. I've subsequently gone back, and all I have to go back on kind of is what's on YouTube and the transcript on YouTube, etc. And what was developed in my mind about all of this is maybe omission of information and not enough inquiry regarding details. So I'm looking at this as being a communication issue amongst all of us. and asking pointed and detailed questions, but also giving full and unvarnished information and experience. So I think this is a good learning experience for all of us in how do we communicate, what questions do we ask, and not making assumptions.
Okay. So then the other second item that I needed to bring to everybody's attention was the principal payment return and how it was presented to the board at the last meeting. I professionally work for a government agency, and my government agency that I work for is the Department of Land Conservation and Development. My program works together with ODOT a lot, so I have times that I meet with different people that work for ODOT. I happen to have a meeting scheduled with Cindy Lesmeister, who is our loan officer. We were meeting about an entirely different thing, and I mentioned to her, hey, thanks for whatever you did in helping us get our money back from the principal payment, and how surprised, how it was a surprise to us that it had happened so quickly, and when it wasn't really a real request, that it was just an inquiry about whether it was possible. During the course of that conversation, as I was saying this, Cindy was surprised that that's how I described it, because that is not how she recalled it happening. And then later, in order to satisfy her recollection of events, to make sure that she was remembering it correctly and wasn't mistaken, she shared with me the email exchange that had happened in regards to the return of the principal payment. So it was presented to us as a, hey, I'm curious if this could happen, and oopsie, the next day, the money was in our bank account. When the entire way that went transpired took over a week's time, and back and forth emails with ODOT, with our director CC'd on every one of them, and knowing that there was being a request for the money to come back to us. I stand by my decision and by my statement that I think that the money coming back to us was the best thing for the district, 100%. And I will just say that it is important that we are communicated with 100% transparently regarding how things happen. And I will acknowledge that there is a learning curve. I said this to Director Carr when we first talked about this, that I acknowledge that there's a learning curve with the Oregon Public Meetings Law and transparency requirements in Oregon versus a government agency versus a private entity. And there is a learning curve, and we can all make mistakes. And that I needed to inform the board of this information, because now I can't keep it a secret, because it needs to be transparent that all the board has the same information. Otherwise, I could be accused of covering things up. So here's all of your information, and everybody now is privy to the conversation in its entirety. So I would like to give board members an opportunity to ask questions, either of myself or of Director Carr, and I'd like to give Director Carr an opportunity to speak to either of these things. But the intent was to make sure that we are all on the same page. We all know the same information. This is not, I don't run this board. I am only facilitating the meeting and only helping put together board packets. I make no decisions on my own. I only make decisions when the board directs me to do that. So there is your information.
Thank you.
Commissioner Montero.
Will also comment on this. I'm going to say I was disturbed to see these emails, to look at the dates on the emails. I very clearly remember being told at our August board meeting that there had been an inquiry about, is it possible that maybe could the district get their money back? And And it is my belief that in order for that kind of action to actually ask ODOT to give us our money back should have been endorsed by the board before the request had ever been made. So given that I understood that it wasn't a request that was made, but an inquiry about the possibility, I felt more inclined to say, let's keep the money that supposedly just appeared. Because I remember thinking that the money had just kind of appeared in our bank account without any prior notice that it was going to appear. These emails suggest a much different course of action. They suggest a course of action where it was not an inquiry, it was a request, that it didn't happen overnight, that it happened over the course of a couple of weeks. And I personally think that I would have made a different decision if I had known the true course of events.
Any other comment, Commissioner Romero? Commissioner Legre? Executive Director Carr?
I'd been here for less than 60 days at the time, and I've had a lot of different input from a lot of different people as to what the state of our situation was, whether we were closing imminently, whether we were in danger of shutting down, and knowing the history of all that, and just having basically got here was a bit in I won't say panic, but there was a lot of things that I was unaware of and I was uncertain of, but I felt needed decisive, immediate action. It's a mea culpa on my part. I made mistakes. I accept them. I'm responsible for them. I think that the information I was getting was leading me to these decisions, and the fact that frantic state led me to make, like I said, very specific and decisive decisions, which in retrospect were not the best decisions. My inability to communicate clearly, I think, has a lot to do with just my not being grounded and familiar with board operations and how it works. I think I say things and oftentimes casually as opposed to going into that depth and the what am I thinking of? The complete disclosure. I apologize for that. I don't think anything I did was a violation of law or any intent to deceive in a way that I was trying to deceive anyone deliberately, degrade fraud, waste, or abuse. I think that I asked for this in public because I want to make it clear that I don't think I did anything wrong. I did some things poorly. I should have been more forthcoming in my disclosure. I think my mission has really been crystal clear on establishing our financial stability to represent our customers and our staff as best I can. I think that being decisive without the proper background and training, the training I got just the other day was pretty extensive and exhaustive. And to expect, I don't know what you expect, or even if you can remember your first 60 days on the job. But it was challenging. And then the state of affairs was such that I freaked out. So it's on me. I take full responsibility for it. Just two things I want to say before we wrap up is on the requesting for the funding. Yes, I requested the funding. It was not my intent to request the funding. It was my request to find out about it because we got the check one day and then we got the information from ODOT the next day on that we could get it. So it was a timing thing. But I felt that I had to take two tracks, that I could not say, well, maybe we'll take the money. No, I had to say we needed the money. I mean, that was clear to me at that time, with all the stuff that was going on, with the federal money being withheld or delayed, with the state money possibly being impacted, with the delays being caused by that environment, I felt decisive action was necessary to keep the doors open. That's why I acted in that manner. I felt that in terms of the communication about with the legislation, I attempted to do it. I failed to do it, but I felt I would have been informed, and I felt I had time to still do it. So I did not feel at that moment I was in arrears. I was just waiting for the next opportunity for the window to open. I think that in both cases, I was successful in getting money back. I feel we have a better financial cushion, and that provides us with that. And I think the letters and the information I got from Representative Javity shows that the impact of not only the testimony, but the fact that I reached out to him personally. I talked to him on one occasion with Debbie Bush-Schmidt attending the town hall that I attended. It was really a positive event. I think that I wrote to him directly as an official. I wrote to him personally to express my thoughts, and the fact that he supported us when we thought the consensus was he was not going to support this. He did support it. He was a swing vote. So I felt that, well, I can't take credit for that. I was influential in reaching out to him directly and personally, and my approach being that direct personal approach. When I'm talking to people, I met with Senator Weber personally. I feel that that's my strongest, one of my strengths, is to be able to relate to people, to talk to people and communicate with people on that level. But I did fail to communicate properly with the board. I think it was not my intent to deceive. It was just error or omission. I think the hardest thing for me is that, I don't know, when you come into a new position and new situation and you have lots of things going on, you're a little under duress. And I don't mean that I'm being shot at or anything, but it's stressful. Sitting here is stressful. Being under scrutiny and criticism continuously is stressful. And I'm trying to adjust to that. I realize that this is a difficult position. The reputation and the situation here has been challenging and difficult, and I'm doing everything in my power to try to do that. This could have been done a lot better to further that. But I'm doing the best I can. And if it's not good enough, then I would offer that maybe I'm not a good fit. I'm working hard with staff. I'm working hard with the public and the other civic agencies here. I realize I recognize I have a communication problem. The meeting once a month, not having dialogue. I'll tell you what, the conversation you and I had on the tour was very beneficial. It really informed how you feel. It informs me the expectations. Going to the training class, same thing. It informed me. It shows me what the expectation is. Going to those other council meetings, I'm seeing how other people are interacting in their board meetings, how they're treated, how that works. And it gives me more information on what my expectations should be. I will admit, I get nervous in here. I get freaked out. I think I get called out in a way that I'm not used to. I'm used to being the research person or the scientist person or the person telling all the good news, and everybody goes, hey, and then I leave. You know, I get to stay here, and I get to stay here. So I'm not used to that. I appreciate you saying that this being a communication thing. I appreciate you trying to shield me, as it were, from making this public. And the reason I wanted to do this in public is because, you know, I'm doing the best I can. I'm not hiding anything here. I think this district needs that type of openness and honesty. And but I do hope that I can come into this board room and not be afraid and not be nervous. It's really hard for me day in and day out to think I'm doing really well up here and think I'm just not carrying water here. And because I need to do all of that. And I would appreciate some grace and consideration. And just, you know, it's like a rookie in sports. They're going to make a lot of mistakes. They're going to blow their assignments. They're going to do things wrong. I would hope that I would be encouraged and counseled and allowed the opportunity to improve, and that these meetings wouldn't be so difficult.
Well, just to wrap this up, I just want to say that, you know, I did state that I acknowledged and stated that I felt like this could all be this was all part of a learning curve, and that this is a challenging situation that we are all in, and that we have relationships to build. This is a new situation. I do want to say that I think that the underlying message is that the board wants clear, concise, and completely transparent communications. So all the details, pretty and ugly, the board needs them so that they can make their decisions. And they will make their decisions, and sometimes they will be all what the director is proposing, and sometimes they will be partially, and sometimes they will not be what the director proposes. But that is the job of the board, is to consider all the information and have it all presented. I don't think in any one conversation that I've had with any board member, there has been any sentiment that they don't want the current executive director to succeed, that they want the success of the district through the success of the newly hired executive director. And so we are here to conduct the business of the board, and the board has to conduct their business as the board sees fit, and guide our only employee in the best way we know how. So we have requirements that we have to follow, and the executive director, as the executive director of a public agency, has requirements that they have to follow. We as new board members and new elected officials have responsibilities to take trainings and know what our responsibilities are to public meetings and ethics. The executive director and every employee of a public agency has a similar responsibility to know those things about being a public employee. I would say that I would hope that our HR is making those types of trainings that are public meetings and ethics, state agency, local government trainings available and required to employees and the board of directors. So, Commissioner Montero.
You have been reading part of my mind. I think, David, you will remember back to the very first time we met, and when we talked, I indicated that I thought that your biggest challenges in the near future were going to be Oregon public meeting law and Oregon ethics laws, and how all of us need to know them very well. We want you to succeed. But we also have a responsibility to the public as elected officials to be transparent and to have the public know the business of our district as well. And I'm going to reflect a little bit on the last 2 occasions that I have been just a citizen out there when this district went into major failure and major disarray. And as a citizen and a voter and a taxpayer, my first thought was, what the hell was the board doing? Why didn't the board know what their executive director was doing? And that's why communication, the good, the bad, the ugly, the board needs to make sure we know what our executive director is doing. And if we don't, we need to be questioning it, because we are the public officials held liable for the fiduciary responsibility for those tax dollars. And so now that I'm sitting in this hot seat, I know what I'm responsible for, and I take that responsibility, as the other board members do, very seriously. And that isn't to beat you up. That isn't to run you out. That is to educate you when you need to be educated, to have good conversation and have that the trust level that you're going to tell us the good, bad, and the ugly, and that we're going to tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly. It's the only way that this district can succeed is to build up not only our trust as a board, but the trust between the board and you, the board's only employee, and the employees of the district, importantly, the taxpayers. So I do give you grace. You learn as you go along. But for us not to talk about it when we know it has happened is simply a repetition of what has not been good in the past. And none of us want that. So.
Okay, moving on to the next item. Well, we have a whole bunch of them, don't we? Let's go up to my new agenda. And moved on to correspondence, and that is not where we are. We are.
No, you wanted to do a letter?
Chair ask the chair to send a letter regarding the transit bill.
No, this is, you had sent this to me earlier.
Oh, there's.
Form the board of the OTC and the STIP plan and stuff.
Those are, okay, so no,
you're still in.
So we're in new business. And we're on item D now, which was Commissioner Allegria's request to discuss authorizing the chair to send a letter regarding supporting the transportation bill. Commissioner Allegria.
Well, that's pretty much stated. I think that it is important that the chair sends letters like this rather than individual. I'm not saying individual board members not to send it, but you want the person who's reading that to realize that the board is, or the executive director supports this, and this is why we need it. And it's because the transportation money has become very political rather than we need it, and this is what we do. You have to be stronger than normal. And if you want something strong, I can always throw it at you privately. But it's a serious situation. And the other thing I thought about, which is probably, well, this is a possible situation which may be very off. And that is that the transportation bill is political, and there has been criticism of ODOT. But what I've read, there's nothing said, just that there are problems. And so that maybe someone can suggest that there is a meeting of all involved to talk, to say what these problems are and hear all the issues and possible solutions, rather than just saying, well, we're not going to give you this money, and to just give transit money for 2 years. It's like a death knell. They did have it for 10 years. That gives you some flexibility. If a bus breaks down 2 years, well, you might as well close shop for the most part, or you're going to have to do a lot of cutting. I think I end my soapbox there, but to in the future, and I just want to say this, that we can call an emergency meeting without notice. There are several different scenarios. One is with notice and one is without notice. You do have to tell the newspaper that you're having the meeting regardless, but you don't have to do the 5 days. And I mention this because the situation in Salem is so up and down and which way that you're not going to have a lot of time to do a special meeting. So if you need permission from the board to write a letter, we have Zoom. This is a great use of Zoom. It's a yes or no, basically situation, and to keep that in mind, because
Okay, so the agenda item was to authorize the chair to send a letter regarding the district's support of the transportation bill.
Yes.
So
Commissioner Montero.
I'm going to try and clarify this for myself. Any one of us, the chair, any one of us can send a letter as a citizen. And when we send the letter, we can say, I'm a citizen. This is as I recently did. I'm a citizen, I'm a city councilor, I'm a commissioner, I'm a this, I'm a that. And I can speak as myself. As long as I don't say I'm speaking for the board, I am doing fine. What I'm understanding that you're wanting is for us to authorize the chair to actually speak on behalf of the board and say, I am speaking on behalf of the district and the board, so that carries more weight than the chair saying, I'm a citizen, I happen to be the chair, I happen to do this. Am I interpreting that correctly?
Correct.
I totally endorse that. And I will make that motion that the board authorize the board chair to send a letter to the legislative committee in support of the transportation bill, to preserve the funding for transit. Did I say everything you needed there?
Yeah, I would add that specifics, because all transit agencies are going to say we need your support, which they do.
Yeah.
But I think what a transit agency, you can't go, okay, we're out of money, let's raise the fare to $50 to we're not a private industry. So in other words, and I've done a lot of testimony with some, well, going to where, but
We need a second.
So there's a motion on the floor.
with specifics, why? Or was that an amendment?
I'll accept the amendments to say with specific examples. How's that?
Needs.
Specific example and needs. Yes. Okay.
There's
We
motion
need
on
a
the floor.
second.
So there's,
So are you
Oh,
seconding
second.
it?
Sure.
Okay, good deal.
so there's a motion on the floor by Commissioner Montero, seconded by Commissioner Alegria, to direct the chair to send a letter of support regarding the transportation bill on behalf of the district, with specifics from the district and the district's needs.
I can do that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
I,
All those opposed, chair votes aye, motion passes unanimously. 11E is the policy committee assignments. Was asked to put on here that we have restart the policy committee. So I would like to ask for volunteers to be on the policy committee. We need 2. There we go.
I have to say,
I didn't even have to resort to voluntoling, telling somebody that wasn't at the meeting.
so are you appointing us?
Yes.
And so we have the freedom then to meet and start going through policies and designing, doing suggested revisions.
I would come up with a priorities list first and then start working on them. Make the priorities list, introduce it, and start working on it. Yes.
and
So-
it would be nice to,
I have it already.
okay.
Okay.
See this
So
with all
policy committee, has been started. Commissioner Montero, Commissioner Alegria appointed. 11F, board trainings. Commissioner Montero.
I've been getting the email that I think is generated because Madai or
No,
somebody,
you speak to, not the employees, to.
well, I am.
Yeah.
But somebody is saying that I, as a board member, need all these trainings. And when I went and looked through them, and of course I'm behind on all of them, there's training that's for bus drivers, and there's training for this and training for that. And I think we need to select which are the trainings that the board needs. And I think there's some employee trainings that I think we do need, harassment in the workplace and the more generic kinds of things. But I don't need bus driver training. So can we do something about getting that pared down?
Yeah, we had that conversation. I think because we are required to have a lot of training for a lot of staff and the interactions we have with the public. I think the intent was to share with you some insight into that, not require you to take the training. So I think we'll do is we'll revisit that and just say of the 38 classes that everyone here has to take, you only have to really consider taking these 2 or 3.
Because we actually get signed up for it, and we get these emails that keep dinging us when we haven't done it yet.
I think it was, again, it's in the program. There's not a lot of flexibility in that, so I'll have her look into that and see if we can just identify those, tell you which ones, and track those. The rest,
Okay.
I don't know, is there a way to remove? Let's go ahead and just remove all those and just leave those. And then there's some other training that comes down from whether it's the public meeting law, there's a requirement for that, and other board specific stuff that's not included in that. I think it'd be good if you looked at it in that perspective and understand what you guys need amongst yourselves and assign that or delegate that. Because I think you have to take one class during your term.
And
that doesn't mean
actually, that's not a board responsibility to make sure I take that training. That's my responsibility.
But I would say talk amongst yourselves so that you all have that, and we'll try to hold up the little piece we want to share with you, and then the rest we'll leave to you.
Because I am a vector solutions training manager myself for a different board, I know what an easy way to do it is instead of it including board members as employees, you create a special group and call them board. And then you only assign, you can choose which trainings you're going to assign to which groups. And you can determine the due dates and all of those kinds of things. And if you dig into, there's 2 different sides of vector solutions. There's the SETD and the employment side, but then there's also SDAO available trainings. And so you can go in and assign SDAO trainings to the board and make them optional. And then they become available in the board's list of trainings that are available. So just great. It's a great way to track and make trainings available. And SDAO does offer a lot of further education that way, and you can do it on your own time. And these do not qualify for the required training yet. So it does not qualify for the public meetings and ethics training that the board is required to do one time per term. Commissioner Legria.
I'd just like to ask if the current, old board members could have an updated board packet.
I don't understand. Can you say that again?
Well, everything, I don't know, I think mine's 7 years old. We
The
don't
orientation book?
have- Yeah,
I think that especially once we get updated employee job descriptions, that would be a really great thing to include. That would be something that would fall to our administrative assistant, and we don't have that ability to assign right now. But we'll revisit that again. Strategic planning.
Hoping we can
Keep it up here.
executive
Strategic planning. 11. The November, December board meeting. So normally it's traditional that the SETD board does not hold a meeting in November and December on the normal board meeting date, because those just happen to be the holidays. So we don't in general come here to have turkey. We spend time with our families. And then the other one falls often on the December holiday. So it is most normal for the board to schedule a combined November, December board meeting. If there is a need for an additional meeting in there, which also happens sometimes, we can then schedule an additional meeting to take care of whatever that specific business is. But usually Kelly is a big part of determining when the November, December meeting can happen, because it depends upon what financials are available. So how soon could that November, December meeting happen that would include November financials?
we have had it at the end of November.
Yeah, but then you can't do the November financials, and I think it would be really nice for us to, get 2 months worth of financials at the same meeting.
I think last year, to kind of avoid this, we did a meeting the beginning of December, and then did our regular meeting in January. Otherwise, for the financials to be really complete, we're looking at our regular January meeting for them to be able to get December.
We'll get December.
Yeah, at least one of those months.
If we do the beginning of January, we can get November in there, and then our January meeting would have the December.
So you're talking about the beginning of December.
We
You
did
said
the beginning of
January.
December.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Okay.
So if we did December, 18th, we might be missing some things in our financials, but a majority of our November bills would be in there.
And I would probably be absent. So
December's a hard one to meet.
Guillermo, do you know any conflicts with the 18th?
For yourself.
Did you ask me a question?
Yes. Do you have any conflicts with the 18th of December?
At this point, I don't know.
Okay.
I have a medical.
Okay. What about the 11th, Kelly?
We could, no,
Okay.
it doesn't give enough time to be able to put together the board.
Pamela,
Does it have to be Thursday?
When are you going to be?
beginning of December.
When?
Well, I haven't made the reservations, but,
Okay.
because we usually had it the last week of November, so I wasn't.
I don't know that we want two board meetings in January, but if we met early January.
Especially not if we're also looking at a strategic
planning, that's true.
What about Tuesday, December 16th?
Anything jump out at you that you know for sure you can't?
That sounds,
Okay.
Okay,
That's
so
it.
not, so,
Okay. So let's shoot for December 16th. please, we'll send out an email letting everybody know and to respond if they have conflicts on that day.
So that meeting will have October and November in it
Right,
for your financials.
right.
Okay, I'm not gonna know what that is when I look back at it, so I have to make sure I remember to write myself that email. Okay, so we've got our November, December board meeting.
So I think you also have to just put in the back of your mind that we've got a budget review meeting that has to happen sometime in October or November.
Mhm. Yep.
So,
Okay, GH. Oregon Transportation,
October 23rd then.
that's our next board meeting.
No, I know that. I mean, in
That's
terms,
our financial reports planning session, where we're gonna tell Kelly what we want on our financial reports. We want them to look like. That's an entirely different thing than a budget review. We'll go with that. There's also there's the Oregon Transportation, Public Transportation Conference that is happening in November 2nd through 5th in Bend. That is a public transportation transit provider conference only. So I know the board has frequently commented about SDAO conferences, that they're valuable, but they would appreciate a conference that was only about transit. That's what this conference is. This conference is only transit. It is transit providers from all over Oregon that attend. There's sessions, there's lots of educational opportunities, there's lots of networking with other transit agencies that is available. It is in Bend, and it is November 2nd through 5th. And registration is happening now. I brought up to Executive Director Carr that this was happening and asked him about what our budget availability for sending board members was. I know that there have been different approaches at different times about how many board members could attend, what conferences when. When I first came on the board, it was not the practice of the board to send the entire board to conferences. Financially, we were not in a position where we could afford that. However, the board did feel it was important to send representatives. So at that time, we had been sending 2 representatives from the board if they were available, in addition to whatever staff the director determined was necessary to send. So I would like to know if there are board members that are available and interested in attending.
I would be very interested in attending. What I want to do is look at the agenda. I want to look at it.
Okay.
And do you know, is registration Sunday evening, or does it also include Saturday for travel?
I would have to look at the agenda. I do not have it memorized.
So that's called the Oregon Transit OTA, right? OTC?
OPTC, but I think it is under Oregon Transit Association Conference. If you look it up under that, it's a little confusing.
And that's from 11 to 11:05, did you say?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. So if you're interested, would you let me know, please? Interested and available. Interested and available. It may require that you either offer to travel together or forego reimbursement. We have to figure out budget details about what's available as far as expenses for board members. So I will be attending, but not on SETD's dime, in a different capacity. So that doesn't mean I can't report back and share to the board. So we get that bonus, just letting you know.
Does that include mileage?
Well, in the past, we have reimbursed for mileage, yes. So we need to figure that out. So, yes, correct.
So the cost for an OTA member is $575.
Okay, so you're going to let me know if you're interested and available, and we'll figure that out based on what our budget funding available.
They have scholarships available.
Okay.
So maybe we can apply for scholarships.
Okay.
So to fully disclose, I looked at our budget and our ability to go to this conference, and we have registered 3 people to go to the conference, and the operations staff and myself, and we got applying for scholarships, but we'll go with those
Great.
scholarships. So the 3 of us can go for about $1,500 all in, and that's because somebody's driving and we're getting a reimbursement. We're traveling together. If need be, we can break that up. I would gladly give up my spot for anyone who wanted to go. And I'm just saying, I think it's, from my perspective, it's more important that my staff members attend, because I've been going to conferences for 20 years. I present at conferences. I understand the value of these things, and to me, the value of this conference would be more about networking and meeting the people and less about the actual content, though there is rural content that I really need to absorb. But we've already started this process. We've already registered. We're prepared to go. So if you would like to go, we need to look at our budget, because I think in the administrative budget, there's $2,000 for travel and training altogether for the board. And altogether for the agency is just about $12,000, $12,500. And so within that, we would have to navigate. Now, we can make a budget amendment. We can make some changes. And in the budget workshop we'll be looking at just those kind of things. But that's where we are right now. I believe we can accommodate it. If there's a need for or desire of several board members to go, we can figure it out. But it'll take a minute to figure that out. And and executive director does appreciate the fact that you're having someone else pay for that. That's helped us out quite a bit here.
The different hat I'll be wearing at that point in time.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean I can't change hats. So there's that. You're gonna let me know available and interested, and then we will sort out whether everybody that says available and interested can go, or whether we have to flip a coin or something. Meeting time change was proposed by one of our board members at the last meeting, and requested to have that put on the agenda, and I forgot to do that until the last minute. So it was proposed that we change these meetings to start at 9 a.m. instead of 10 a.m. because of the time that they are running. And I would like to throw that out there for discussion with the board members that are present. I know the person that really wanted it is not here, and I will say that this is a challenge to me that it goes until 1 o'clock. So I would be in favor of moving our board meeting start time to 9 a.m. Back to 9 a.m., which is what it was.
Oh, it was that before?
Yes.
I'd like 10, maybe to whittle down the agenda a bit.
I keep trying. You saw my attempt. Any other comment, Commissioner Romero? Changing the meeting time from 10 to 9 or leave it 10?
I'm good with that.
You're good with it?
Yeah, I'm good. I would agree with the change.
Change to 9? Commissioner Montero?
I prefer not, but I would go with 9.
Commissioner Allegria, could you live with 9 if it was 9 instead of 10?
Yes, not well, but I will live there.
I don't like it either.
All right, so I propose that not the next board meeting, because we already have a training scheduled at 9, a workshop scheduled at 9, that our November-December meeting would start our cycle of 9 a.m. meetings instead of 10 a.m.
Oh, I just had a thought then. What happens with work sessions?
We'll have to deal with that. We'll have to figure out whether they're after or on a different day.
Okay, because that has been kicked down the road.
But so our work session that is scheduled for next board meeting is scheduled to start at 9. The board meeting is scheduled to start at 10.
Right.
Okay, all right, good with that.
So the December 16th meeting.
We'll start at 9.
Oh, no.
Yes.
That's UHD.
I see it on my schedule now. We have a different board meeting on the 16th, so we'll have to look at a different date.
Okay.
It was okay as long as we had an hour between. Yeah. About the 17th, Wednesday the 17th. No. How about Monday the 15th? Could you, Guillermo, could you go to December 15th instead of December 16th? Does that work for you?
I believe it's on there.
I'm just concerned that you're not gonna have a full financial picture. The closer, the more.
I know,
that
I
way,
know.
I would.
That's why.
What about the 19th, December 19th?
I assume.
December 19th. December 19th?
So am I the only person who can't do the 18th? Because I could.
No, I thought.
I'm not going to be able to do any of it.
So that's
If I'm the only one on the 18th,
Then
I'll
we are-
change the appointment I have on the 18th to something else and make it.
okay. We're going to send out a doodle poll that says the 18th or 19th. Pick one. Got it?
Okay.
Please respond. Make sure you respond. Those of you watching this after the fact. The November, December meeting will be December 18th or 19th. We will decide. Okay. Next item is correspondence.
2 items of correspondence. Letter from Jim Santee, a former board member, I think.
Yep.
I
Did you
actually,
say what year?
Law and
he was
Yeah,
part of the
formation.
original, formation of this enterprise, and the board was, board and the enterprise had problems then.
Transportation district is a tricky thing.
He,
Everybody has that included in their
yeah,
package.
he,
that we're in.
I called him and I spoke to him for half an hour. So he shared lots of delightful details with me, and he really wants just to get service out to Swenson, Napa, and Westport. Told him we have dial ride service, limited dial ride service available, and talked about what we might do in the future. He was happy that I called him. I think it was a good conversation. I think it just puts it more on our radar when we look at other options in that area. And I thought it was good to kind of get just that day one kind of information when it all started and a lot of that stuff. So it was
Very cool.
Okay, please make sure you read that letter in the packet. And then we also have the ODOT fiscal
Yeah,
year.
so we have the ODOT review of the sub-recipient single audit for fiscal year June 30, 2023. And so they've reviewed it, and here is materially complied major, and it concluded that the SETD has material complied with major program requirements. It was noted that the SETD single audit report for FY fiscal year ending June 30, 2023 was issued after the due date. And audits were notified of the late filing. ODOT PTD issued the management decision letter to address reporting non-compliance on 10/1/24, and SED provided corrective action plan 10/17/24.
So that letter was received. The board's all aware of it. Executive director report.
For the sake of time, I'm going to just take a look at this. Really, the only couple of things I wanted to really highlight was the suggestion box, and you think that's kind of, I don't know, cool, not important, but I would say that when I first got here, one of the first things I did is I asked employees to give me suggestions, and we got a lot of them. As a senior staff team, we sat down, we went through all of them. And we were able to do a couple of things I just wanted to mention. There's new workstations. So when you leave, take a look at the workstations in there. We have all 3 CSSs in there. We all have ergonomic workstations where they'll actually can stand and work or drop it down and set it at a level. There was a nominal cost for that, and so we were able to provide that. And then coffee service. And the only reason I mentioned coffee service is because I found it entertaining. I'm sorry, I don't mean to waste the time, but they had complained that coffee was not good in Warrenton. How many different kinds of coffee did you get?
Yeah, 4 different kinds.
So she got 4 different kinds of coffee, and in the end, it was determined by consensus of employees that the original coffee was just fine. The other thing
That's public involvement. That's how it works.
I am trying to establish this connection with employees, the senior team connecting with the team, responding to their needs, and doing this in a way that they're heard. This seems trivial, this seems humorous, but I think that the employee, it's fundamentally what we're here for. Is to listen to them, hear them, be concerned for them, and respond to their needs. The coffee and workstation in themselves is not significant. It's the fact that we're listening and we're trying to impact them. The other thing was I met with Clatsop Community College and we discussed a potential UPass program. Also just being there at the beginning of the year, working with their ADA coordinators, their other benefits coordinators, and being able to come up with a way to be there at the beginning of the year and then be there throughout the year and provide them with the opportunity to potentially have a UCAS program in the future. I have a proposal that I'm working on. They're supportive of it. I will bring that back to the board when it's prepared and give you an opportunity to look at it and respond to that. And then lastly, there's an item on Dave Wireless. And the only reason I'm bringing it up is because our communication system is very, very old. We have radios. And we talked about cell phones, and we can't drive with cell phones. So the radio is the backbone of our communication system. It is obsolete functionally. The actual, we have a transponder across the river in a tower that our radio signals go to, and those things are not supported anymore. This is a $50,000 all-in change. So it's a significant budget impact. We're not at the point where they don't work, but we're at the edge. So, and communications with drivers is critical. Communications with them, the frontline staff on the road. This is essential to their safety. This is essential to communications about picking up passengers. And this is something that will be at the priority of our budget discussion. And the last thing I'll mention is I got an email from ODOT just yesterday on Monday about requesting examples of if we were to receive the STIF money, what would we do? Well, I know I got a whole long list of stuff, but the reality is, if we got the STIF money, it has to be done within our STIF plan. Now, you mentioned that there might be an exemption for that because of the influx of money. They might allow us to change the plan, but the way I understand it is the legislation that created this was pretty specific about if you have a plan, you can't modify the plan. You can amend it and do things within it, but you can't add projects, you can't add criteria. And so we're hoping we get some flexibility and we're hoping we're able to do that. But the reality is we may be able to work within the parameters we have. There's still a lot of stuff we can do, but we're going to wait till the other shoe drops and we find out about that before we make any decisions. So that was all I wanted the rest to give my team some time.
Commissioner Montero.
So I got a couple of questions. I'm really glad that you've gone to the city councils and the Clatsop County board. You still are probably planning to go to Gearhart, Astoria, and Cannon Beach. And if you could please let us know when you're going to do that, because I really feel it's important for board members to be there visibly to support and show what's going on. And then I also had the other question I had was, I was surprised to see the 3 buses up for auction on Facebook. And so I don't know how that works. does, the board doesn't have to be involved, or ODOT doesn't have to be involved in any,
Previous,
oh, it was, okay.
the board approved.
Must have been before me.
Yes,
Yeah.
you remember the exact?
A year ago.
Oh,
So,
wow.
so to be clear, I got here, I looked at the buses and said, we need to get rid of these buses.
Yeah.
And one of the buses wouldn't move. And so we had to do some stuff to make the buses operable enough to be able to sell them. Because if it doesn't operate, you get
They don't wanna
surplus
buy
value, junk value for it, salvage value. And by fixing them at a nominal expense, we were able to make these resellable. And now I don't think we're going to get a whole lot of money for them because they're really old buses with hundreds of thousands of miles on them. But it puts us in a better position than trying to sell basically.
And we don't have to keep insuring them.
Well, you don't insure it, you don't have to maintain it because there's still a maintenance requirement. You know, we still have to do all those things and we still pay for all that. And now by taking them off the books, we're able to do that. And we're coming to you with a request to remove more since we got new buses. And we really need to pare down the fleet to where it matches what our demand is, and we have a certain number of spares, but we don't need to keep everything we've ever had for the last 20 years because there's the diminished value of that and the cost of that is significant.
Commissioner Lightgrave.
Is there a policy regarding selling of property equipment?
I think there is. I don't recall. Oh, we follow the state
Right.
surplus property rules. We've been coordinating with ODOT on these vehicles, and so we followed those guidelines, and we're using.
Even if that's just what it says in an operational policy, that might be all you need.
Yeah.
I would just to comment about that, when that does happen, if something like that is an action that is, especially if it's going to happen and be posted on social media, if you would send out an email to the board, just say, heads up, this is going to happen. This is how to answer some of the questions people might have, because I know I got a bunch of, what's going on? Are they going out of business? What's happening?
We didn't have going out of business sale.
No, but that's what the public reads into it. And so if you give the board a heads up when they're faced with those kinds of questions, we have the answers. The way that it happened in this case, it happened and we were just as much in the, what's going on as everybody else. Knowing that we weren't going out of business, I guess we had a little bit more information than some of the public. But we do, just give us a heads up so that we can be prepared for those questions.
And I think in all honesty, that thought never occurred to me that people would think we're having a going out of business sale. So,
Given the.
I think what we can do is we can put we definitely will give you notice. Keep that opportunity to be aware of that. The lag between when it was approved and when it was actually.
And especially when there's that much of a lag. And I would say that the same thing holds true. Like if there is some sort of emergency or some sort of event that happens on a bus, in a bus, at the transit district, anytime that authorities have to be called, and it could be something that hits the news in quotes cycle, give the board a heads up so that we are prepared to know the facts. We don't have to know the details. We just have to know there was an incident. It's been handled. It happened on this date and that date. We don't have to know details that you wouldn't release to the press. Treat it like you're giving us a pre-press release so that we know how to answer to the public.
So we had that discussion internally. We are aware of that. We are certainly going to, we've been blessed that we haven't had anything.
Right.
So, and then we had one minor, like a little fender bender accident, and I got that information. And at that time, I'm like, there's no body damage, nobody's injured. I'm not going to report that type of level. But if there's an injury, there's any type of, because I mean, police response, they took a report and all that, but it was just it did not rise to the level. But I'll take under advisement whatever level you want. If there's every time we hit a break off a mirror or something, I can tell you that. But at this level, I think if there's an injury or other accident that requires like the vehicle's disabled, or we have to tow it, well, the police will come out to just about. We call them. We want them to take a report because then there's a liability question. But in the case of a small fender bender, it's not a real action there for us. But And I made that decision in the moment, thinking that, well, we had no injuries or accident damage to us. And so it was just the other party that was, and the police officer just fills out the accident report. We get a copy of that and we keep that.
I think that's a good way to handle it.
Yeah.
I want to go back real quick, just really quick, because I think this is important. Because what they're looking for as far as commentary on the additional STIF monies, if we were to get them, how we were going to use them. There's an underlying reason I feel like there because of some of the testimony that was given in the funding session, the committee, and that was that there were transit agencies that were saying that if they got extra money, they would spend it on things that the committee considered superfluous and bonus, expenditures that they may not have been in favor of. So I feel like it's important for us to say, no, we would use it to improve our existing services, to increase frequency, increase coverage to underserved areas, things like that. Like, we're not going out to buy satellite driven buses. And I use that example because it is outrageous for our area. We are not going to use funding for those kinds of things. We would use them to support service to our community in the best way that would be possible.
So just to kind of clarify this, when you approve a budget from the state and you have a sunset, you're getting money for a little extra money for 2 years. I don't want to expand service and then contract service. I don't want to add something and then take it back. What we can expend it on, if we can like bank it and use it to accumulate over a couple of years and use it to do some stuff, then that would be good. But that's not going to be allowed.
No, it's not.
Potentially not being allowed. So we're really in a dilemma because the only thing you can really expend it on is some things you can consume in 2 years. That's not sustainable. That's not long term. And so it becomes really a delicate balance between, what we would like to be able to do and what's sustainable to do and what's going to represent the public. Because if I add service to Eastern Astoria for that extra year and a half or year, whatever period that is, and then I take it back away, that's going to be to our detriment. And so I think we really have to think about what we can do. And then also our STIF plan. We don't have a new roof in that STIF plan. So if I got the money and I could afford to do a new roof, I can't use the money for them. I desperately need a new roof, but if it's not in the plan, now if we can amend the plan, and if OTC allows us to do this, then we can work through a lot of that stuff. But if that doesn't happen, then we're going to be severely restricted. And the examples we're going to give are just like you said, generic descriptions and examples of things we could do, expanding in mobility, expanding in our services.
We can't use the word expanding. That's
not
what
expanding.
I mean, say is our wording
enhancing these capabilities within the scope of our projects.
Right.
And that's what we would do.
We just have to be very careful about the words that we
If they give us the opportunity to amend the plan and amend the projects within the plan, then we can do more things.
So we need to inquire whether or not.
We are inquiring.
I think
and the other part will be, for example, we buy vehicles because I can expend that within that period, and then I replace everything from this century, from the previous century, and then everything that's anyway, I can get these newer vehicles and I can do that. It's not necessarily our top priority, but it's our top priority within the money that's available. So we will do that.
Okay. But maybe one of the things is getting that radio system out.
That's why I mentioned it. It is on top of my list. If there's a way to put it within there, we can. But again, it may not fit the projects. So I think there's a way to creatively do that, but the STIF people have to agree with it.
Okay, we have 10 minutes until this meeting is over. Commissioner Montero.
I have to ask a very specific question because I realize I didn't ask the question and we didn't make a decision. I need to make sure that Pamela and I have permission to put together a timeline and send it to the board for the whole process of filling the vacated position. Because we need a timeline. We don't have a timeline.
Yes. So you need, you.
I just
put
want to
together
make sure
a
the
timeline
board
that you're
knows
okay with.
that
Yes.
it's okay. We're going to send out a potential timeline so that we know
Yes.
when we're going to do each thing.
Yep.
I
Okay.
just wanted to mention what some places do is they say open until filled, and one of the advantages of that is you don't have to pay for another advertisement.
You guys will work that out.
We're not
Okay.
doing that.
Next items on the agenda, I would just say, we have operations, paratransit, mobility, human resources, and finance still to report. If you have something that we need to know outside of your report that you would like to highlight, please. Operations.
Yes, I would like to highlight that the Volvo has 19 bids.
Wow.
Bids on the 4 vehicles end Monday, so that is the only vehicle that's been bidded on, so we'll have to move forward with that after that. The website changes. Please go look at the website. Northwest Oregon Transit Alliance, which we are a part of, NOWADA, are working hard on making a better website for us. And so there's an interactive map, there's real-time bus tracking. You have to go to each route, but you can see the bus actually moving and you get real-time bus tracking. There's a better trip planning on the website, and it's easier to find now. So as NOWADA continues to work with the new vendor, MAC, can't remember the name. Anyways, the vendor, they're doing better support for us.
Can we get the board updated, the board page? It's not.
Well, a lot of that piece is on
Okay,
us.
so can we get that
We need
updated?
that
Yeah,
updated.
thank you. Anybody else? So paratransit, is she still on, hanging in? Probably.
Currently, I believe maybe at lunch.
Okay, perfect. Mobility, Jason, anything further that
Okay,
you
we got
want?
Facebook. Thank you, Kathy, for helping us get that ownership back. Boom. So
Human resources.
We're hiring, we have been interviewing people, and we're very close to getting 2 new drivers and a lot attendant.
Good deal.
Finance.
No.
No finance.
Come on, put you up to this, so.
I know you did. Echo to Tita on, I was also on that training for
Records retention.
for records retention. So, which was interesting. I hadn't been part of that before, so it was kind of fun to just listen to how they had gone through it and the changes and those kinds of things. So I'm looking forward to what comes back out of that. So thank you, David, for that training. I did a couple of other trainings. I didn't mention it on here. I was in a roundtable yesterday for SDAO for HR and finance. So there was some good things that came from that I will share next time. That's all I got.
Any closing remarks? Adjourned.